The following podcast is like porn for your ears. Adult language and themes are coming your way. Listener discretion is advised.
Dating. In our modern world, it's a far cry from what we witnessed in years past. What was once a cringy detail in a toast about the newlywed couple meeting in a bar, well, it's now a meet-cute one could only strive for. Where meeting on a dating app was stigmatized even a decade ago, is now par for the course. Showing up to a first date with full credit report and background check of the other in hand? Well, it's certainly not the courtship our grandparents experienced. But this is where we're at. In a society isolated by technology and social trends, maintained through deteriorating communication and a heavy dose of distrust. For singles searching for love, sex, companionship, or even just a positive experience, how does it work? And does it work? Is success in any form a rare commodity? Or is there simply a shift that needs to take place to adjust one's expectations and understanding of dating in the modern age?
I'm just a teenage dirtbag, baby.
Dating can be a real grinder. It's not as easy to just strike a match and light the tinder. There's plenty of fish in the dating pool, but hinge your approach on the odds. It's gonna be okay, Cupid. This is the Season 2 finale of the Going There podcast. I'm your host, Matt. Let's get ready to bumble!
'Cause I'm just a teenage dirtbag, baby. Yeah, I'm just a teenage dirtbag, baby. Listen to Iron Maiden, baby, with me. Oh yeah.
We hope you swiped right, cause this hot date is going there. Taboo topics are back on the table.
Hey there, everybody. Catherine Bosley here. Longtime TV news personality, but now also a speaker and author and an on-camera talent coach. So I get plenty of opportunity to be on podcasts. The one that stands out for me, though, the one that always makes me smile, is the Going There podcast. Matt and his crew, they are fantastic. They are so witty, but they're also really insightful. And you have to love that panel format where you have so many layers of perspective on a topic. So I enjoyed being a guest on both Season 1 and Season 2, and I look forward to going there many more times in the near future.
Hello, E.W. Harris here. I was the special musical guest for the shit show episode of the Going There podcast. It was a good time. We laughed, we cried, we learned some off-color jokes I didn't already know. But most of all, we learned a little bit about ourselves.
Well, thank you for going along with my cheesy puns, everybody. This is going to be an amazing episode. It has to be, because look at the people we have here at the table. But also, this is the Season 2 finale. It has all been leading to this. What are we going to talk about? Well, hopefully by now you figured out. It's about modern dating. We are going to have a bunch of little fun snippets and some callbacks and a season summary and a wrap-up. But the main part of this episode is right here. And I have an amazing panel to help me round up the rest of the season with some of the most entertaining bits of stories, information, and still mental health is in play. So let's introduce who we have here today, starting with the only person who's been on the show before, my favorite person of all time, Sir Mylan.
My name is Sir Mylan. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, arts educator, chef, makeup artist, singer, actor. I do it all.
And speaking of doing it all, are you in the dating pool right now?
And I am.
Okay.
I'm looking for a good woman.
Well,
Right.
if you remember, call back to the Purity Culture episode, there has been a leading lady in your life in the past that broke you out of your funk, right?
Yeah, but I'm lying. I'm not looking for a woman.
Yeah.
I don't want
If
any
you
women
thought
hit
he
me
was,
up. Don't hit me up.
This is the
ladies.
wrong
Don't
show
hit me
for
up.
you already.
It is.
Sitting next to him is a brand new guest. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Cassie Vinorsky, and I've been in the dating pool for a while. I think everyone you named, I've been on, except Grindr, of course.
Wait, the people or the apps?
Both.
Okay. Another one of the people who might look familiar to you, hopefully if you watched or at least listened to our episode 2 episodes ago on taking the informal survey, is the musician highlight from that episode who will grace us with her beautiful voice in a talking way, Mariama.
Hi, I'm Mariama White. I am an artist, singer, songwriter, actress, speaker, coach. I do a lot of different things. And I am no longer in the dating pool.
Yeah, so she's
in a
here to
relationship.
rub it in, and not in a good way.
No, I'll be cool. I'll be cool. I'll be cool.
She's always cool. Mariama is an actress who we've worked together now for the last probably like 5 years or so. We've done a lot of projects together. One of our favorites and go-tos, and I always knew she was a singer because she sings, especially when you tell her not to, and it's fantastic. There's a lot of good bloopers out there. And speaking of actors in my wheelhouse, Mr. Peter Toomey, who's been on the show a few times, introduced me to a wonderful person sitting to my right. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Karen Cassiopo, and I am an author, a first-time author, and I recently wrote the book, Swiping for Love in All the Wrong Places. It's really just a compilation of all my crazy, crazy dating stories. Effed up crazy.
Yeah, I enjoyed reading this book, and actually you sent me, I'm assuming Mr. Toomey bought this for me.
He
and
did.
And this was great because I went out with Peter for my birthday when I first end of last year, started on the apps. And I think because he is a gentleman and a former officer, he was like, ooh, these women are real racy. I'm like, this is nothing. So Karen writes a nice message. Matt, Peter knows you'd never be a Chad. We'll talk about that. But after hearing some of the stories and seeing the pics, I thought you should have the guide, Happy Swiping. That was very sweet. I got this in the mail going, what the hell is this? And at first, I thought it was like I don't know, some of the women from the apps turned me in or something. It was out of the blue. But it was a very fun read. We will plug it again at the end so you know where to get the copy of it. But let's just get into it here. So thank you, first of all, everybody, for being here. Like I said, this is the season finale. We're going to have all kinds of fun little stuff. But right now, we're going to focus on what, I don't know if it's a good term or a bad term, modern dating. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, I think modern dating, you have to know what you're getting into because it's different for everybody, right? I mean, you go in and you're like, oh, I want to go. And for me, always would go into, I just want to get to know the person. Just collect data. Well, data. Dating, I always say dating is to collect data, right?
Really?
Well, in most cases.
Yeah, I was like, until you get to that point, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
that.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people.
That's called spam. That's not actual important
but
data.
you have to know.
It's a computer virus.
You have to know like what the other person is looking for too. You know, you could have your own idea like this is what I'm going for, but the other person could be looking for something completely different.
Or he's on a ship somewhere.
Yeah, could be.
Or he's in Europe somewhere.
Right.
And wants money.
Or or in Africa, who's trying to get a green card.
But he's looking to bring his daughter or son home and would be willing to relocate wherever you're located if this were to work out.
Or it's a Russian bot and you fall in love with it, and I can't do that again.
Man.
Not a second time.
Not a bot.
So obviously last episode I shared that been in the divorce process, which started actually in the very beginning of season 2. And so I went on the apps right at like the end of the year, but I did it as a distraction at first and not like in a,
a distraction.
Yes. I needed something to be positive about and happy about. And I'm an extrovert.
I get that.
And when you're trying to not be depressed.
Those apps aren't, why are you making it sound like that? It's so like, I'm going on there just to find someone to go to the library with. That's not why we go on those apps. Well, some people. Well, men.
I was like, I don't go out there necessarily for that. I'm going out there to find
He made
someone.
it sound so magical, like,
I get
No.
A distraction.
Don't feel bad about the
distraction.
magical.
Matt's
No.
like, for
What
real,
type
I
of
did.
distraction? I know why I go on the apps.
You know, okay.
We hope
first-
that's the end thing at some point. But
Yeah. No, I mean, first of all, flirting is just fun, period. It doesn't even have to lead to anything.
Okay.
Sir Mylan, your goals are obviously very, very specific,
Because
and we're going to get into
I'm
that.
a man. So, if I was in a relationship for 14 years. So when I decided to go on those, well, I kind of started when the relationship was ending, however, comma.
Comma.
It probably, okay, I can agree with that because in my relationship, going on the apps was for a distraction.
Yeah.
But then towards the end, it was like, can you travel or do you host?
What we gonna do?
What we about to do?
I agree, punctuation. What I've noticed above all else is if you want to find where mental health is at across the board in society, look in the dating pool.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yes.
Oh, that's an understatement by far.
Yeah, it's grossly unchecked mental health issues and baggage in tow. It was right around Christmas time, and I swear to God, some of these women had just robbed Santa. They had his bag, but it was full of all their drama and bullshit. And they're like, dumped it on the table. You'd be like, let's grab a drink. She's like, I'm so glad you said that. Did I ever tell you about when I was 5 and my mother hit me? I'm like, oh my God.
I did not come here for this.
This is not magical. This is not magical.
I think something it's like free therapy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like an outlet, like someone to talk
Right.
to.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, just saying, like, they're like, oh, I get drinks, right? Go out for drinks, talk about stuff. Don't need therapy.
And Cassie, I believe that you've run into some of these clients out in the real world. You started a Facebook group. Is this correct?
Yeah, 2015. It basically started because I was getting so many random messages of just like terrible stuff, of just straight to the sex or like I had guys.
So it's like Sir Mylan was in your DMs, right?
Well, so that's how Cassie and I got started on that because I would come in having all my dates and like Monday we'd like regroup and talk about all what just happened on the weekend and we're like, what? Wait, what?
So I just decided like let's make a Facebook group and just start putting this on there, like see if other people at least find it funny, if anything else.
So
And also, like, not that many people that I have in the group are in the dating pool, but if they are, then you know to watch out for these people, right?
Would that be the one in the maid outfit or the?
Some of them, like just the profile picture alone, you're just like, why do you think that that's a good
my
look?
goodness.
Right. So
The
that
profile
brings us
pictures.
to a whole nother topic.
I do want to know what some of the things that you post are about. Was it somebody? Portia sends me. Was that last night? Today? When was that? It was like some guy was like, which. I'm sorry. Can't even get through it. Which one of you dusty hoes posted me on this profile group?
No.
My God. So.
See?
Dusty Hose is my new favorite term. That should be my profile name.
Yep.
Dusty Ho. I'll take you out. Go ahead.
That's a mess.
I had one where just after kind of saying, hi, how are you? You know, what are you doing? And be like, working. And you're like, how's your sloppy head game?
Oh.
Like just right there.
Did you tell him?
No.
You should have asked him, how's yours?
Mylan said, well, did you say so?
I'm a realist.
You're
Like,
not gonna get compassion or empathy
I
from
mean,
Sir.
you
I'm just
will-
kidding. I'm kidding.
Just listen. I keep it 100% real. I think that women and men should keep it real about their intentions. I feel like
Definitely.
But is
If
that
you
that's
want-
not keep that's
no. Let me finish.
that's the problem. That's all guys want to do.
Exactly. But women do too.
And you
Yes.
just got to find each other.
but-
But you have to know that ahead of
Well,
time.
I feel like
who
if
you're
you-
talking to.
And most of the time, like on my profile, I have looking for a relationship. So it's not that
Right.
I'm like hiding that I'm looking for something more serious.
No hidden agendas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when they go to that, I'll usually be like, it's not what I'm looking for.
And here's the issue I actually have with that, Sir Mylan. Because you're in a different pool and it's not as probably as big of an issue
It's
for
the
you.
same thing.
No, but what I was going to say is this: women get so turned off, and they're
some women.
most women. They have to protect them. I'm saying they have
Yeah.
to protect themselves,
Yep.
Right.
literally,
Emotionally.
physically.
Yes, exactly.
And so, like now, you have to, before you can let them know you at all, you have to first jump through a lot of hoops just to prove to them that you're not one of those douchebags.
Exactly.
And I'm telling you, that part sucks. And I'm saying that as somebody who completely understands why. And so I play the game. There was this one girl, for example, and she was like, right out of the gate, it was like, marry, fuck, kill. And then she named like famous actors, like dudes. So it was like funny, but she would make little sexual comments. And then I finally felt like, okay, I think I'm comfortable enough to make a joke myself. Because I was playing it very neutral. And that's also a problem because I've been told before, like, are you even like into women? I'm like, I'm just, it's an impossible balance. And then I said something and she goes, why is it all men think about is sex? So I screen captured all of her previous ones. I'm
She
like,
gave you the play, right?
I'm like,
Or you thought she did.
and it was a joke. I wasn't even saying like, how's your sloppy head game? So you put on blast on your site, like guys' comments to you and their profiles?
Like I would screen cap like the messages I would get, and I would like blur out like last names and pictures and stuff because I'm not trying to, really out somebody specifically, just kind of like letting people know. Like,
so
what's
you're
out
actually
there.
giving them more respect than they showed you.
Yeah. So
Even like you can see like if in some of my messages, like I'll give like one word responses of just like nice, really, and then I just kind of let them go. Like I give them some rain to hang themselves a little bit, and
Fodder for the site.
yes, for sure.
and it'll work.
Yeah.
So it's just like, so my stuff will just kind of look like I'm not really interested, or they just think that because I'm not really responding that I'm just interested in what they want to hear or say. And it just.
And that's the thing, the lack of self-awareness across the board and understanding. Portia, what's the other, there's like a pretty well-known, there's several of them, but there's one that's like, are we dating the same guy? Is that what it is? Have you guys heard of this one?
No, I haven't. Well,
have you ever found a guy on there?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
What is it called?
Are we dating the same guy?
Oh.
Wow.
There's a multiple now. Like that's kind of my little like Facebook page is kind of like predating some of that stuff, but I didn't really make it public. I did it as a private thing just for, close friends.
Yeah, Karen, right?
Right. Me and Karen, just so we could share all our misery together.
We did. But we had fun doing it.
We did. Yeah, so I actually did. I was, was searching through and I actually found somebody that I thought if I came across them again, because I thought we had really good chemistry when we went out, kind of was searching through and found him and saw that he was giving the same spiel to all the same women.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think guys have enough energy and creativity to give different spiels?
Well, I think they keep it within the same wheelhouse. Like there's
What's your sloppy head game is copy and paste.
right, yeah, right.
He want to know.
Don't laugh. It is.
No, I know.
Like this one guy, I know a couple girls who he had been texting, and his whole game is let's set up dates, and then I'll cancel on you the day
whole
of or
ghosting
hours
thing.
before. And not only did he do it once, he did it like 5 times. I'm like,
Is it a
finally,
power play?
yeah. I'm like, eh. And you know what? Then he'll fall off the map for like 6 months, and out of the blue, all of a sudden, this person's name comes up. I'm like, wait, who is this? Do I know you? And I'm like, then he'll like get all like chatty again, and then goes through this. That dance ended, buddy. Like,
But going back on the mental health thing too, right? Like, not only is it a mental health game of like gauging just the society it's in, but it's also a huge mental health game on yourself of like hearing some things that people
yes,
are
without a
very
doubt.
willing to tell you without,
Without
any,
really knowing you.
right. Like
Yeah.
I had somebody
Well,
who
you
was
had
like,
a guy who wanted to be your dom.
well, there's a lot of dom sub stuff on
I
there.
mean, dom sub is fine. Whatever
I'm
you're
not,
into,
I'm
like
not a kink
kinks, all
shamer.
that
I'm not a
shit.
kink shamer.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
as long as you're upfront about it and like,
Yeah.
that's fine.
I don't
Like,
think you should lead with that necessarily. but
Right.
But I had
There's
somebody
apps
that
for
was
that.
like, I'd fuck you, but I wouldn't date you.
You what?
He said that to you?
Yeah.
He said what?
He said, I'd fuck you, but I wouldn't date you.
So after your third date and you fell
No.
in love? I'm
No.
just kidding.
This is
I'm
like,
yeah.
just even like texting, I was just like, again, saying, like, I'm not interested in a sexual relationship. He's like, well, I'd fuck you, I wouldn't date you.
Well, at least you know.
And so,
What's-
Sir
that's-
Mylan, this is what I'm getting at is women have it 10,000 times worse in the wild west of dating. It doesn't mean men don't have things to complain about, straight, gay, anything else, but women literally have to protect their own mental health, livelihood, and like just physical safety.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll defend men too for a second on this one, because every time I go on a date, because we're on dating apps, I always put out there, so what's your worst date you've been on?
Yeah.
And there are some really, really messed up dates. I have to say, probably the most common denominator for men is how women misrepresent themselves. Like they'll go on this date expecting to see Veronica, who shows her prom picture, and when they show up, it's not. It's like
It's Matt in a wig. Yeah.
What is that? Catfishing?
Catfishing.
well, no, it's
Yeah.
not so much catfishing.
Well, it's the
The
person,
bait- like the
but
bait
they
and
look
switch,
completely
basically. Yeah, they're
different.
just
Yeah, it might be,
They look
even if it's
completely
the same, we'll get into more of this, but like, yeah, even if it's the same person, it's like, who took this photo, how,
And
what
when.
photo,
Yes.
what AI program made you look
Exactly.
like that?
What filter did you use
It
for
said
that?
like, how can I look like Marilyn Monroe?
and then a
yeah.
baked potato here.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand, because if you're going to meet the person,
What's your end game?
You're gonna find them.
you're going to look like what you look like.
I have.
So look
I
like
But
what
it's
you look
just
like
it's
in
the
the picture.
engagement though.
Yeah, but then
It's the
why,
engagement.
why show up on the date?
right.
Exactly.
Because I'm expecting so and so to
I
look
think
like
some of
this.
them think that you're not going to be ballsy enough to like leave. So they're still going to get some, they're still going to get
And they're usually right. I'm not that mean. I mean,
you're still going to buy some drinks.
I'm gonna tell you, most
or-
men I know sit through dates like that, and I know some have left. They'll just get up and leave, and they'll pay their share and go and they'll be up front with some of these women and say, "You misrepresented yourself." Like
and that's a fair
that's
statement,
deceptive.
but yeah,
and
it
blah blah blah.
sucks.
And some of these women are out just to get dinners and meals, and it's a play that way too. But
So
There's a-
why,
there's a
that's what I was about to say. Like it sounds like a game.
It's all
Like
game.
from
Right.
both parties.
Exactly.
Some
just-
of it's a game, but some of it's also the mental health thing because I've experienced things where I think it's this person was trying to prove to themselves, like maybe I'm in my head about it or something. Yeah, no, some of it is a game and some of it is mental health
And I
and
think it's like a
self-esteem.
narcissist like dream.
Can we say all of it is kind of mental health though?
All of it's mental health. Sure.
Like all of it. You can't just say some. Like all of it is. Like we're all looking for some type of healing.
Sexual healing.
Maybe.
Whatever, like a physical, emotional, like it still has something to do with
Yeah.
Connection.
mental health. Yeah.
I think COVID changed the way the world works. Technology somehow pushes us further and further apart on a daily basis. And as an extrovert, especially as an extrovert, going through a divorce, having gone through a lot of family issues and friend issues with politics, social issues, all this stuff builds up to this giant snowball of, holy shit, I'm very isolated. So when I said distraction, it wasn't like, this is going to fix my life. It was like, I just need to meet people.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't care if it wasn't even about a physical thing, anything. It was like, I'd like to grab drinks with a stranger and just get to know them, and who cares? And if something organic happens, great. But I don't know. What's your current situation with the dating world? How long have you been single?
It'll be 3 years in January.
So what's the dating world in Sir Mylan's life look like?
To be honest,
You're the guy who texted her about the sloppy head game?
and I will. No, I don't know. Like it's
But he has a new line.
real. Like it's a real thing. Like the gays definitely is a little bit more complex than what you heteros are doing.
Absolutely, it is.
It's a little bit more than that. Like it's more of like, yeah, like I'm like around the corner from your building. Do you want head behind the building?
Wow.
Like it's that serious. Like, and I believe some hetero relationships are like that too. Like, yeah, like, do you want car sex? Let's just do it. Like, I'm parked in front of your house. But with the gays, like, it's a little too much. Like, they're doing it in woods, at Edgewater Park, in alleys.
The water park.
Mariama is very
Look,
intrigued.
I'm like, wow. In the
Yeah,
woods.
like, it's the culture is a little bit more open and freer.
you thought there was a
Like,
bear
we
out
do know
there.
that. Like, we know that the gays we're rainbows. Like, we're free, we're open, we're free spirits.
Well, I think it's too is because for so long there was a lot of like persecution, and you had to find love in the dark corners where people couldn't find you and stuff.
Absolutely.
And so, like now that it's kind of out in the open, it's like, why are we going to pretend that what we were doing back there isn't the same thing we want to do up here?
Well, kind of.
I think white people, like Protestant waspy people, are the most sexually repressed people on the face of the planet. Okay, good. I thought I was like, I'm looking at one of the other white people, and she's like, no, yeah, we're fucked up.
They are the ones that are
I
doing
can't
it
say.
in the
I don't know.
woods.
You know,
Well,
you've never
especially
dated
in
white guys?
America.
I have.
American white people are very like repressed.
American.
Like European, like is totally different than American when you're talking about sexual repression and.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'd like to get another date, so maybe I'll cut this out. But we started what we called Matt's Model UN because I was for a while exclusively dating women from other countries, not other nationalities, like from other countries. And I wholeheartedly agree it's American women have the issue.
I think all of our minds raced.
Yeah, we're
as
like,
to what
when
do
you say
mean?
that, the issue, what is the issue? With
Submission.
American women.
No,
Okay.
Cassie, you can explain it.
Well, I mean, in America, we repress sexuality on television and everything. And like Europe, it's much more, nudities on television.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're just very,
It's a Puritan. It's the
and we keep going there, right? Like it's getting worse.
going there, getting worse, sexually.
Soundbite.
No,
Going
so Sir Mylan can speak to it because he was on the episode, one of the episodes of Purity Culture this season, and it's absolutely purity culture. So when we had the people come over from England and stuff, when the country is being formed, there's a lot of the Puritans, and it's embedded in this dual society that makes no sense. It's a paradox because sex is everywhere, and sex sells, and sex is great, but also sex is bad.
Right.
Which is why there is religious trauma and sexual trauma and all of this stuff. And the LGBTQ community has healed through it faster because they've been working through it for a longer period of time. Are you on the apps?
Eyes.
You don't have to plug it. You can just say which one you're on. You can find me at bearplusotter.com.
We haven't clarified the otter part yet. I'm still
Yes.
waiting for that definition.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Are you going to tell us what an otter is?
Yeah. So before we started taping, I had mentioned otters, and every time I've said that, people think I'm joking. But that's why you said the LGBTQ community is so much more complex.
It is.
I'm like, you got boobs? Cool. You're like, are you a bear, an otter, a twink? Like, what are the breakdowns here?
Well, yeah. So it's bear, daddy. That's a thing. It's chub, bear, daddy, otter, twink.
What is an otter?
What is an otter?
An otter is just like
It's a water
a
mammal.
lean guy that's solid, but he's not really chubby. He's not really burly and hairy. He's
Okay.
just like a svelte man.
Does he like
Gotcha.
clams or not?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Does he lay belly up in a river?
He can.
What's your type? Do you have a type?
I don't have a type.
What are you? What do you consider yourself?
I am a bear. Hence my nickname, Sugar Bear.
I was gonna say, hey, Sugar Bear Blue, is that?
Well, that's just the name of my business.
He said he doesn't
Sorry.
want to plug his
We're gonna
profile
sorry.
on here. Yeah.
Sugar
Edit
Bear
that
Blue, Instagram.
Are you on Grindr? Do you not want to say which one you're on?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to say what I'm on.
Are you on an app that is specific to the LGBTQ?
Yes.
Not specific, but
Yes.
geared towards
yes.
them? Okay.
Why would I go on a straight app? I'm not looking for
Well,
anyone
because
straight.
on a lot of the apps, they have like, are you a man seeking
True.
a man or a woman? So
That sounds like ads, like Backpage or something. That's what that sounds like.
what's it called? Backpage?
Well, they don't have that anymore. But it's like Craigslist. That sounds like something when you go on there seeking that. On the apps, it's so significant. I don't know if you're not gay, so going on a gay app is very significant. Like you put a profile, you fill out, everything's pre-populated, and then they could just read. I am this age. I am this sign. I weigh this. I'm this height. I am seeking this. My HIV status is this.
Very specific.
Very specific.
In a lot of ways, that's really good because even if you're, more repressed or Puritan or whatever, the more open communication and transparency, the better off
Yes.
everything's going to be on the other side.
And
Yes.
that's why when I was saying it, I was saying like, Yeah, you go on these apps, like, you have the choice. Like, you know what you're going on there for. That's why I laughed at you when you were saying, what kind of distraction are you looking for? Are you looking for somebody to come over and play
He's
with your
like, that's
balls?
not a distraction. That is work.
Well, you
he
know,
has to, like, he reads an encyclopedia.
With men, like, we're straightforward. So we can say, on Tuesday, we might want our balls played with. Wednesday, we may want to just go have coffee. You get what I'm saying?
Just make it plain.
It's just, but women, y'all want emotions that me and we don't. We're unemotional.
I think he's still
when it
thinking
comes
about
to
the
that.
ball.
I'm just like, it sounds so much easier to be gay.
And it is. I've been trying to tell y'all. That's why everybody's trying to come over. That's why they're doing it in woods and behind alleys, because they got to go back home to their wives.
Well, yeah, there's a lot
That's
of
a whole
deep.
nother episode, right?
That's a whole
is
nother
a whole-
episode.
Yeah.
But that is the
Course of
majority
another
of what these apps are populated by this.
But the other issue then, I joke when I said it's so much easier because obviously you have to deal with so much more shit. But there is the safety of that shit, because one of the issues that I know for, especially in the trans community, is you have people who have fetishes that they don't even want to admit themselves. They find a weak point and they use you as a kink or a fetish. And you don't care because you're like, bitch, I'll knock them out. I don't care. But like, that's why women have it tough. But have you experienced any of that shit where you get fetishized by?
Do you really want to have this conversation? Because it's deep.
That is deep.
It's serious. It's deep.
We're being rooted on by the cameraman, so I guess we have to. This
He's
is
like,
called
yeah.
And I'm
Going
only
There
speaking
Podcast.
for me.
Sure.
For me, as a guy who is two-spirited, that embraces both his masculine and feminine energy.
Right.
I am approached by a lot of men that are closeted.
I believe it.
I've never dated a man and I never had sex with a man that was not with a woman.
Ever?
Never.
Wow. So you do have a type? I'm pretty
No,
sure.
but it's not my type. It's just like I would love to date an openly gay guy who's HIV negative like me, and because I am.
He'll plug that, but he won't
Yeah,
tell us
yeah.
what happens.
But it's a serious thing.
Yeah, it is.
Because this is what's going on. But I would love to meet an openly gay man who, is clean and positive, and as far as career and life, love his mother. Because but these apps are flooded, and I'm being very transparent. Like they're flooded with a lot of men who are closeted.
I believe it.
Who because of, and I'm saying like women like her who they just didn't want to fulfill those fantasies or fulfill those things they need, so they come over to people like me.
Well, how could they fulfill it? Because obviously part of the fantasy has nothing to do with the woman. So.
Well, I believe that a lot of men who like feminine men or trans aren't able to explore sexually what they want with a woman, so they would come with a trans or a feminine man. And a lot of women don't want to do that. They don't want to do all the freaky, nasty things that he would want to do with a feminine woman. It's a visual aesthetic that men have.
So then let's bring the hypothesis full circle. Are a lot of these men married to white American women?
A lot of white men.
Bingo.
A lot of white men.
Yeah.
Colin.
It's the white American woman. Karen, why is there such a stick up your ass, and why won't you put anal beads up there instead?
That's Tuesdays. I'm kidding. I think I agree with him. I think there's different buckets of women. I think there's buckets of women that are looking to get laid, and they're on the sites just to do that, to sneak behind the alleys or go to the
Who
wherever
are also
you go.
married or just in general?
There's both. There's probably a bucket of married. There's probably a bucket of non-married. And
Where can I meet them? I'm just
Every
kidding. Keep
woman
going.
goes through her hoe phase
Yes.
too.
Goes to what?
Goes through her hoe phase.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
well, yeah.
Just gotta
Men
be cl-
live
just
in the
gotta be
hoe phase,
clear
but
and upfront
women
about when
we
you're in
take
there.
naps in it.
Yeah. The hoe phase is called life,
Yes,
birth to
yeah.
death.
But now going back,
Everything
but
is
then there's
all
also buckets
resolved
of
and we
women
just bust a nut.
who are just looking for whatever my brand of normal is. Like I get shit from my girlfriends. They're like, "Oh, you're looking for Mr. Perfect." No, I'm looking for Mr. Perfect for me. Whatever that equation is for me, I'm looking for it. And I always say that first 3 months into anything, it's the best it gets.
Oh,
From
yeah,
there,
yeah.
it's like all of a sudden you're like, "Wait a sec, what just happened?" It's like the light switch flipped off, and you're like, "Who are you again?" And now all of a sudden, all that night, if there is any of those things, then all of a sudden that goes away.
I read something that like people can only fake being something else for 3 months.
Yeah.
Is basically what it is. Like they can only.
Men will
Some
take it to the
people-
grave.
Yes, they will.
To an extent. They'll be phoning it in.
Nope, I agree with him. I dated somebody, and I swear he will take his lies to the grave.
Well, the lies, but like.
But that's a specific, I think, type of person,
Yeah.
right? There's other people, like in general, I think you can't really keep up a facade for too long.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
Like there are some people that can do it forever.
Here's a great little
Yes.
one is, talking about people and their dating profiles. Portia shared when she and her husband first started dating, they kept going on all these hikes. She's like, why are you taking me on all these hikes? He's like, your profile said hiking was one of your hobbies. She hates hiking. She hates the outdoors. She couldn't even keep it up for like 3 dates. She's like, okay, I have to lie.
You're like, let me erase that.
Yeah, I hate hiking.
But you just piggybacking off to the purity culture thing, like it's tradition and religion that is a lot of the problem now with a lot of men and women, with mostly Caucasians because they come down from that. When they're little, they're saying like, "Oh, don't have sex, don't do this, don't do that." A girl shouldn't suck a dick, or you shouldn't have cunnilingus. You shouldn't do those things. So when they get older, then they stick to those values, and I believe people should be able to do what they want to do.
Well, and it's not just they stick to the values. Like we talked about it in the purity culture episode. It gets ingrained so deeply into you, you don't even realize that it's messing with you.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly. At some point, you just have to come to a place where you go, what do I want? What am I willing to, what beliefs or mindsets or things that I learned as a young person that was wrong or that was right? Because some people have completely different experiences.
Right.
Some people have families where they're like, be free, do what you want. That's rare. But, and then they may come to a place in their life later on where they go, you know what? Let me find some balance here. Because at the end of the day, I think we all should have some type of
understanding
and balance
and
too.
not talking about it makes the issues worse. This whole thing like we're not going to talk about it. Some of the terms you just said, we never learned what cunnilingus was. That was not an option.
I looked that stuff up. I was like, what does that mean?
It was verboten. You were not supposed to do fellatio or cunnilingus.
Sodom and
Gomorrah.
They
wouldn't teach you
Lot's
about it.
wife was turned to a pillar of salt.
But then when so many people start to realize how good it felt, it became more common.
I will say though too that there is like a double standard with sexual partners and women versus men. Because like I had somebody that was like, on his profile, he's like, if you've had more than 2 sexual partners, I don't want you.
Yep.
And you're in your
but how many
30s,
have you
40s.
had? Like 10? You know what I'm saying? It's completely different.
What's your body
And
count?
what does it even matter? The number
Yeah.
has no meaning whatsoever.
But see, we're not gonna go
Why?
deep. I just feel like that it does matter. Like, and people don't ever want to keep it
Why
real
does it
and
matter?
say the truth.
What does it change?
Like, if a guy is not gonna say if she had more than 2 partners, he's not gonna date her because he's gonna feel like that she ain't gonna be right for him. Like, that's the reason.
It might matter to some people, but what I'm saying is it matters to them because of the purity culture teachings that came before that. What does
I
it
don't know
change?
if it's
I don't know if
physical,
it's just about purity culture. I think it's also too, because I think there's a lot of truth to the more people that you're with, especially if you're emotionally attached to these people. It's one thing to be just sexually attached to somebody and then you can go off on your merry way after that and you're whole and you're healed. But there can be a real emotional attachment there. So if you are not feeling totally complete within yourself, if you go in, and this is my experience too, to feel like when I go into a relationship, I don't want to have to be thinking about all of these other ideas and men and everything like that. I want to feel completely whole and safe with the person.
Sure.
But
how does that stop you from being that?
How does that stop me from being
If you found out later on down the road that this guy had a ton of sexual partners, what would that have changed about the experience?
That wouldn't necessarily stop, but I would be like, well, how long ago was it? And have you done the work to detach yourself from that?
It's
You know
the
what I'm saying?
emotional work.
Yeah.
Right. It's the but a lot of people skip that part.
They do.
They skip the emotional part. You know what I mean? And that's the most important.
And do
because
women
regardless of how
actually-
many
can they
people
handle
you
that?
had, what'd you say?
Can a woman handle if you met a guy, he was great, y'all went out went out to eat, had drinks several times, and then you guys started to get more deeper into the relationship and development of the friendship, and then y'all talked about partners. And he says, "Well, I am Wilt Chamberlain, and I had 1,000 ladies."
That's
Your whole. I feel like that you will feel some type of way.
You're gonna feel that way, I think, because
that's a lot.
But at the same time, that's the weirdness to the whole thing.
Yeah.
It really makes zero difference.
And they could lie. Like
They could.
They could lie.
They could.
And then
most people lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to I had 100 partners. You know.
Yeah. Or to your point, like there's the emotional thing too. Like I dated a guy for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and we got along great. And then all of a sudden, like one night, I could sense something was off, and it was like, wait, what's going on? Like, and the next day, I got the Dear Karen email. Couldn't even call me to tell me like that he had seen somebody he used to date, and he realized he still had feelings, and
So right, that's important
and
too.
I'm like,
that emotional piece.
Go be and like boom. So and then we circle back as friends. Maybe call it 6 months later.
All the people and all the guys in your book are named Chad, obviously anonymity for them. The way it's written, it almost sounds like, did you originally write it with names in there and then go back and change it?
I did. My editor actually,
It was like, are you crazy? Do you want to get sued?
Yeah. So well, if somebody's name was say Mike or Mark, their name would always start with the same initial.
Right.
But it would be a different name. And then, then my editor was like, well, maybe we just call everyone man X or something. I'm like, well, I hate that. Like, let's think of what's the greatest name? What's a man version of
Chad's
a Karen?
a cool name.
It's a Chad. So
Chad has actually become a generic name, like a Karen.
it's a Karen. It's the man Karen.
Is it really? I haven't heard of Chad.
Yeah.
I've never heard of.
We haven't heard that.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much do you hate that Karen's name has been taken?
You just got to be the right kind of Karen. I'm the good Karen.
I like
I'm the good Karen. There are a lot of bad Karens out there.
Why don't you share one of the quick anecdotes from your book? Any of them.
Ooh.
You want me to pick one?
Yeah, pick one.
The Diddler.
I'll give you
The Batman villain, the Diddler. Just the name alone, I
Diddler.
was just like crying. I was like,
what?
What is he diddling? I could not wait to find out.
All right. So the Diddler really has two sides. I actually thought I was going to marry the Diddler until we went to Europe.
You could have been Mrs. Diddler?
I could have been Mrs.
Karen
Diddler.
Diddler.
Karen Diddler.
His name is not Diddler.
Yeah.
It's Chad.
It was
It's
not.
Chad. It's Chad.
But I realized, we'd been going out for a couple months, and sexually everything was the same all the time. Like nothing
diddling?
changed
The
up.
diddling was
no,
the
but there was this. No, the diddling came in the morning.
Run of the mill diddling.
Yeah, when
Nothing like that.
When he would
He
be
was mediocre.
laying there, and he'd just stroke that little spot between your groin here, down here, and just kind of just rub it. He wasn't touching his parts. He's just did.
Like a self-soothing
Probably
thing.
he did it as a baby, right? When he was sucking his thumb. So I'm always like,
Stop diddling yourself in the corner, Chad.
I did. I said, what are you doing
Stop
there?
it, Chad.
He goes, it's a guy thing. I'm like, nope.
You're like,
nope.
never seen that before.
In all 50 years of my life, I've never seen that. I've never
Wait,
seen
he
that.
was stroking his gooch? Like, what was he?
Just that little line right here, just like.
You just call it.
Wait, which line? Like,
So in between, here,
between your
Here,
between your leg and right here.
in your like the pelvis.
oh, that's
area.
not the gooch.
No, it's not the gooch.
Yeah, there was nothing like
No, that-
sexual touching anything. It was so.
That's the
weird.
story with the tainter. Was that a guy? I'm kidding.
That's the same thing.
No, I
Tank
know.
gooch.
Yeah.
It was
So
a
I
joke.
want to hear the rest. What happened?
So he tells me it's a guy thing. I'm no. So then we end up going to Europe. So he's got this really weird food hoarding. Okay. Every time we go out to dinner, I order a meal. He orders a meal. Our meals come. He tastes his meal. He tastes my meal, and then eats my meal. And then I'm like, wait. What's happening here? So,
Got you again, Batman?
right? So I'm always like, okay. Or like I'd get something, and like a friend would show up, or his friend would show up, and he'd be like, here, did you want some chicken tender, whatever it was? I'm like, oh, okay. I
Your
guess I
chicken
won't
tenders?
eat dinner. Yeah, I guess I won't eat dinner. So
Oh my.
the big head turner was when we were in Italy, and he was on a business lunch, and I met him there later. and they were all just finishing up, paying their bills, getting in line. And I'm like, he reaches over, he's the last one, and he reaches over to the table behind where they just came from and started eating off the table.
No, see?
He is a Batman.
And you
villain.
guys
This
are in
guy
another
is.
country at this point.
Yes. And
Wow.
I looked at him, I go, what are
You
you
can't
doing?
just
He's
go
like,
home.
oh, it's okay. It's okay. And I'm like, no, it's not okay. So that later that day, I was like, dude, you are a partner at a big company. If you are hungry, order another meal. Do not eat food off the plate that people have eaten and left.
That is weird.
Karen's book outlines the mental health issues, especially in
Yeah.
adult males,
Oh, my
adult
goodness.
hetero males. My good God. And so many of the guys are like cheapskates and trying to get free meals out of you and all that. And it's just wild.
Well, I'm all about splitting. Like, I don't mind. Like,
No, but like even as a guy who I would say more often than not, if it's going to tip one way, the guy's typically expected to maybe buy a few more. And I'm always fine with
Yeah.
that. I don't care. But the idea of if I felt like somebody only wanted me to pay all the time, even as a guy, I'd be like, what's this nonsense?
Right.
You know?
Well, and I always offer, like, if the
Unless
bill
they diddle
comes-
me afterwards, then it's fine.
Well, you'd have to diddle yourself and maybe she'd watch, but I don't know.
Matt, stop touching your gooch. You've already been sent home from school 3 times this week. What I do want to ask everybody is through how long have you been, has anyone besides Karen and myself been married before?
I have almost been married twice.
I feel like there's a lot of women who've been almost married more often than not.
Really?
I that's just my personal experience. I feel like most of the women I've dated have been engaged at one point, or not just once.
I can't even get that far.
Aw, don't look at it as the finish line. Trust me, there's nothing.
Yeah, please don't.
And you're still not married, by the way. You just
Not yet.
recently started a.
Yeah, it's been since January.
So it's still new.
Promising.
It's still new.
It's over the 3-month mark,
It's
though.
the-
now.
it's
He hasn't
over the
changed
3
his
months.
ways.
Do
like
I
you're
know
still
him,
seeing the
friend?
same guy?
No.
Oh.
It's nice because
Because you don't know him.
he's not from here.
Oh, great.
He's not from here. He's not from the area.
Okay. Check his phone, though, and if you see Sir Mylan popping up.
Don't be trying to cause no drama.
Okay.
What's up, guys? I was fortunate enough to be a guest this season on the Going There podcast. My name is AJ of AJ Presents the Greater Good podcast. You can find me on all the socials and on all major podcast platforms. I was a guest on the Cancel Culture episode. It's a must listen. It's diverse, it's fun and challenging in all great ways. Portia and Matt, thank you so much for having me on. You've been guests on my show. You're always welcome. Let's keep this personal and professional relationship alive in perpetuity with your great, talented people. Support talented people. Subscribe to the Going There podcast. Found on all major platforms. Like, share, and subscribe.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mandy Kirsch, and I had the opportunity to be on the Going There podcast 3 times this season and had such a great time. It was so professional. Everything is done so well. Thanks to Matt for creating such a great space for us to share and to go there on some of these issues that are so important and near and dear to my heart and a lot of other people's hearts as well. So thank you for listening or watching, and hope you all enjoy.
Hi, I'm Joe Cowley. I'm the voice of the Going There podcast, and it's been really fun watching this season, getting all these opinions, having some terrific guests, and of course being able to tell you to go there. I'm appreciative of all of our viewers, and I'm looking forward to season 3.
What have you learned in your time of being single, even those of you who aren't single anymore? What are your non-negotiables at this point? I think everyone...
At this point?
At this point. I notice a lot of people have non-negotiables, but they're all tied to past relationships where they got burned.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's just preference, right? But there's other non-negotiables that I think people have in a healthy way that are beyond just, well, my ex did this and I never want to do that again. Do you guys, something come to mind right away?
Smoking.
Smoking.
Oh, yeah,
I think a
don't
lot
like
of people
that.
are.
I don't want that.
Yeah, I can't smoke cigarettes.
Does it come with age, though?
I think it changes over time.
Yeah, it does for
I
sure.
think it does.
Yeah,
It comes
because
with
I know that,
experience.
from my past long-term relationship that I do need someone who's emotionally available.
Well, yeah. If
I
you're
want
gonna
them.
have it,
I
yeah.
want them to have been through some shit
Yeah.
and have resolved it.
Gotten through
and
it.
gotten through it. He's seasoned. That's how you season when you go
Yeah.
through stuff.
You're right. People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Absolutely.
You know what's interesting about just emotional availability, that if a person really wants an open, honest relationship,
An open relationship or an open, honest relationship?
open, honest, whatever, however they want that to be. No, open doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
But however they want that. It's interesting because people will have a list. They're like, I want a man who has this and this and this and this and this and this. But I don't see emotionally available on that list.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they'll say, oh, he has this or whatever we think the criteria is, all the, the bells and whistles and stuff. But how does he treat you though?
Yeah.
How does he talk to you? How do you communicate? Like those are the type of things to me are like, I have to be able to, and thankfully in my relationship that I'm in now, like we really have such a great way of communicating with each other, even the uncomfortable conversations. And it's really great to be able to see that early, and we really seek to understand each other. Like that is a negotiable for me. Like that's not like, if you are only, especially too, you got to listen to how people, for me, I'm listening to how a person talks about their past. Are you just blaming the other person for the demise of the relationship, or like, what was your part in this? Right. How do you
emotional intelligence is what that's my
and availability.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And communication plays into it, but the one luxury, you probably agree, of having been married is you learn how to fight the right way. You learn how to argue and work through stuff. A lot of people, especially introverts, there's the, fear, flight, whatever. A lot of people run from it. And it's like, you don't resolve it by running away. You have to stay and work it out and talk it out. And there's so many people who, you'll get somebody sending you texts and you say the wrong thing, not objectively wrong, but to their offense or something. It's like, fuck you, I'm gone. Like, it's like, geez, like, people are so tense, and it's like they're waiting for you to hit one of their triggers.
They're on high alert.
So they can just do that.
Yeah. Emotional intelligence is another reason why women have it tough, because, you have a rampant issue of like toxic masculinity in our culture. So guys don't want to be in touch with their feelings. And I don't want to talk about them, be stoic because my pa was stoic. I'm going to sit over here and post pictures of me fishing and hunting.
And that's it.
And all my profile pictures are going to be of the fish.
That's one of those.
And a hat and sunglasses.
It's going to, yes. See, I have all this on my list. Cassie, what's a non-negotiable for you?
I think the emotional intelligence thing is like the thing. Like you have to have that, because if you can't be on the same page of what you both want, it's not going to work.
Do you think guys are good at faking like they have
Yes.
it? I feel like if you're emotionally intelligent, you can usually read through when people are faking it.
Yeah,
I realize you're also trying to give people grace, the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
And if you're attracted to the person, you're willing to look past some of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely, like, if you're attracted to somebody, you're going to let a little bit of some of those red flags go a little longer than you probably should, right? Like,
Guilty.
Karen wrote a whole book about it, yeah.
Guilty. Guilty.
As I've gotten older, the things that are non-negotiable kind of go down, just because I'm, like, trying not to be as rigid of, like, what I'm looking for. But I also want to make sure that what I am looking for is longevity and, like, what I actually want.
Yeah.
Are women honest?
No.
No.
I mean, generally,
I think so.
No,
Are they honest about what they really
Again, there's
want?
buckets. There's buckets.
It depends.
Like, I think I'm too honest on a
Yes.
lot of
Me too.
dating sites. Like, I put too much
Me too.
out there, and and the problem is I'm expecting the same.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that same level of sincerity and
And I think half the
openness.
people don't even read what you put in your profile anyway. So, like, I keep
They
it
see your
much,
picture,
much
they're like, let me
shorter and sweeter, because they a lot of times they don't read through the whole thing, except some
Well,
people.
it's a
and they're like,
swiping.
oh, I
It's a swiping world. It's a attraction thing. People are they'll swipe, and if you match, they'll read it later,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
They might read it later.
Yeah.
Why did you ask that, Mylan? Are
What?
women honest?
Because I don't believe that women are honest.
But about what? Like what?
In the dating
About
world,
about the dating thing. They're not honest. They don't. It's an image thing with women. Like, they don't want to be honest and say, I just want to fuck.
Listen, I've had that conversation years ago.
But some women don't. They want to say I want to explore sexuality or explore different things, but I don't want to have a lot of body count. I mean, I don't want to have a lot of people that I can explore that way. I don't want people to think that I'm a hoe. a dusty hole.
But
I've had conversations years ago when I was in my what we call hoe phase or whatever, and it wasn't really a hoe phase. I was just coming out of a relationship, so I knew myself. I was like, there is no way that I'm going to be committed to anybody.
Yeah.
And so, and it wasn't like I was all out there or anything like that, but I was like, look, let's just do this.
So when you
let's just do it. You know what I'm saying?
Friend, when you went through that,
why didn't you call Sir Mylan?
No, when you went through that, wasn't it easier when you were just carefree and able to just explore and hang out and still do you?
It's
and
easier
go
when
home
the
and
other person wants it too. It's the reason why it gets tough is because somebody might say, "Oh, this is what I don't want to do," and this is what I think a lot of women do. Like they do, not to put all women in one thing, but this is what I see. A man may be very upfront, like, you know what, I'm just trying to do this thing. You know what I mean?
Not
I'm
honest,
not
though.
looking for this, but a
Supporting my
woman
statement.
won't hear it. Like she'll believe, oh, he really don't mean that.
I'll
but so
change
then
him.
when I'll change him, or it's just like
Which
he's
further
so
supports my
he's so
statement.
fine. I still, I want to be with.
Are they
You know,
honest?
and then so they'll go, why did he ghost me? I'm like, yo, he told you that he's not looking for anything.
But it also depends on who's chasing, and that's why a lot of men get attached too, because as soon as it's the woman who's like, I mean, this was casual, then the guy's like, well, why doesn't she like me?
I told you it was casual.
Whoever
but
is
it's
being
better
chased.
Yes, I agree.
when both people are, and this is when any relationship, any successful relationship, regardless of what it looks like, when two people are on the same page, whether y'all just doing this just to do what you want to do, and be carefree. If you both
have
know,
to be on the same page.
you can be fine, and you don't have to get all
But
emotional.
I
Yo,
believe
why he ghosted
sometimes
me?
women put
But then-
on. They be the guy, and then she may feel safe with him, and then she fakes it, everything else, because that's the big thing she needs. She needs that security, that safety. So she fakes orgasm. She fakes being Donna Reed. She fakes those type of things
Donna
because
Reed.
that's what's important to her.
No, that's what she thinks is important to him. Because I think a lot of that is like, oh, I care about him. I don't want him
You're
to
right.
feel insecure or inferior.
No, but that supports what Mariama said, that
So everybody
he keeps it real.
Okay? We all agree.
He said what he wanted.
I think.
Yeah, and I think women can learn from men.
And vice versa.
And vice versa, just to say, hey, look, and be really, maybe not just so honest with the other person, but really be honest with yourself, where you are.
It's hard to find people who are willing to have a genuine conversation with transparency.
So
Right,
I feel
exactly,
like I've been in several, I wouldn't call them relationships because they weren't anything more than maybe like a month.
You've been in the back seat of several cars, right?
Right. Yes. I
read a book.
But
Now he needs the fan so he can go, oh my.
Karen doesn't look like a backseat girl.
No, she's not.
no,
She's too classy for
I
that.
am not a big
Front seat.
for sure. Maybe the hood. Just kidding. But I always laugh because some of the situations or people I've met, I always say whoever they meet next they're going to marry. Because in the time that I was going out with them, maybe I told them or showed them what they were doing wrong. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, oh. And they just didn't have a clue. So I'm like, and then go forward, they change whatever they're doing. Now I'm done with them because we've moved on and maybe I've passed that 3-month mark where everything goes. But whoever that person met next, they married. I called myself the dating fluffer for a while because whoever I dated, that's who they married. I'm like, geez, maybe I could be.
You could be a
hot.
You're the bridge between the back seat and the hood.
Right.
Yeah, and now they're looking for the hood girl.
Yeah.
That's a different term.
I call it being a foster.
So my guess is too, it's like they found somebody who they maybe took some of the stuff from you, but they still found somebody more on their level. So you're still dodging a bullet because nobody wants to be the parent in the relationship.
Ooh,
and we've all been there, and it's horrible.
Honey, no.
Hi, this is Erica Smith, sex educator, creator of the Purity Culture Dropout Program, and guest on the Going There podcast. I had a wonderful time having an in-person interview where they actually came to see me in Philadelphia and we sat down with all the gear. It made me feel very special. And I am grateful for all of the new followers I have as a result. And I am relaunching my sexual values workbook in a 2023 format. There's a new one. You can get it right now on my website. And I just want to say thank you to everyone at Going There.
Hi, my name's Corey, and I help with the audio, making the sound as pristine as possible for the Going There podcast. It's a huge privilege to be part of a project that has so much heart and is just, really staying true to its mission. So I'm really proud to be part of the team. Thanks for having me.
We are talking with two of the members of the band Wheatus, Gabrielle and Brendan. Thanks so much for being here on the call with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
What he said.
I want to go back one episode. You were interested on being on the divorce episode. Can you share a little bit about why?
I went through a divorce, and it's definitely like a topic that, found its way into my lyrics. And so when you, shared the different topics that you'd be discussing, it seemed like, well, that was one I definitely could, contribute to. And I thought it went really well in the episode. So
it did. And you told me a hilarious story that walking down a street and seeing a bunch of drunk frat guys is what caused you to realize you wanted to get divorced.
Yeah, I had been doing a club date gig. I'd been, singing in Manhattan fairly late at night, and I was walking home, and it was like a Saturday night, walking through Hoboken, New Jersey, which, has a lot of bars and people spilling out of the bars. And I felt very alienated walking down that street, and I was like, I'm not where I should be. And it was sort of like the spark of the idea that I needed to make a big change in my life. So
drunken frat guys can make you regret a lot of things in your life, for sure, right?
Make you reevaluate your life.
They've been known to cause so many permanent changes for the better.
Your musical abilities and passions and everything brought you to Brendan and to this band. How did you guys meet?
A woman who used to do backing vocals for Wheatus was doing a solo show at Rockwood, and I had been there. And
I was attending, and we spoke briefly, and then she left. I'm not particularly good at social butterfly activity, but I had one friend who was, and he was dragging me out and feeding me tequila instead of dinner for a few weeks. That sounds like a bender. I wasn't on a bender. It was he was just,
no judgment.
He's a lot of fun. He's one of those super fun, happy guys, not a frat boy. And he was making a whole bunch of people laugh over in the corner, and then we bumped into each other.
This was how long ago?
Almost 13 years.
It was February 5th, 2011.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on making a successful relationship. We all have a lot to learn from you. So let's talk about Wheatus. You've been in the limelight for a long time. Just being a single guy, I'm sure you had a lot of people who were interested in you over the years because of that.
Yeah. For our first leg of American touring, there were, I'd say, a very modest number of road hookups. And I kind of quickly soured on the whole, that experience felt pretty bad. Boring and bad. There was an unequal relationship there in terms of the, I hate to use the word power, but I would say the laws of attraction were tilted on the side of the person on the stage, and that felt shitty after the third time. And I have not had any road hookups since 2000. Yeah, the first year, only the first few months was that a thing. Just felt wrong. They didn't have words like problematic or any of that stuff back then, but it just felt shitty and unwise.
Smart man. That takes some people a whole career and lifetime to learn, and you seem like you learned it really quick.
It's a smart one, this one.
I don't know I don't know where smart meets scared.
You are the founding member of the band, and as far as the current day band, you're the only original member. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I started writing and recording songs, demoing songs by myself, never ever showing anybody anything as early as 93. And that really kicked into high gear sometime around 95 when I graduated college, spending almost all of my money that wasn't on rent on gear, trying to find my voice with different microphones and experimenting with arrangements on the bass, what I was doing was I was teaching myself how to make the hybrids of acoustic and electric guitar that I like, things that I had never really heard merged before. More importantly, things that had I gone into a studio in 96 or 97 and asked an engineer to help me do, they would have kind of kicked me out. You know, they would have been like, that's not a thing, don't do that. Yeah. I was learning how to be that type of an engineer and producer in solitude. And then finally, when I thought that I knew what I was doing enough, I partnered up with Phil, our co-producer from the first record, a guy named Phil Jimenez, who I'm seeing this Friday, by the way. I didn't tell you that yet.
Oh.
We have a very early session. I'm sleeping over Thursday night, and then we're waking up at 4 a.m. to work. Yeah, it's the only chance we have. It's been an interesting week.
And that makes us feel especially grateful for you guys taking time out to do this. I hope you remember doing this interview in the future, but if not, we
may. You know, I mean, honestly, stuff like this is kind of welcome distraction because you get to interface with another human being instead of like trying to push through on your laptop in the basement all the time.
Good. So you guys, did you grow up pretty close to each other?
Yeah, right around the corner. Well, not around the corner, but the next town over.
Yeah, like 20 minutes down the road.
Yeah,
kind of.
And my summer job all through high school was around the corner from her house.
Yeah.
I worked at a fish market.
We're pretty sure he's helped, sold my dad fish.
Several times sold her father shrimp and
sounds like old school dowry kind of stuff. Like, I would like to buy your daughter for 5 fish.
It was long enough ago that was a thing. I think it's probably true that we saw each other once or twice.
Do you think?
I'd be surprised if you didn't drive past me at some point while I was walking with a bag full of cash to the bank when I was
You know, I actually
14.
went to the seafood place with my dad a couple times, so I guess it is possible that I could have seen you there.
You would have thought that I was like a total like scumbag. Like, not a scumbag, but like
dirtbag.
I was rough. Like, I was in a rough place with rough people. You know, those guys at the fish market, like, you know, they would tell you like you screw up like that again, I'm gonna drown you in the lobster tank. You know, it was like not, you know, it wasn't.
That's great. So early 2000s happen. All of a sudden, the band's taking off. You're on like top 10 charts, especially in the UK and Australia, right?
Teenage Dirtbag peaked at number 7 on the alternative rock chart in America, not the pop chart, not the top 100, Billboard Top 100. So it made a little bit of noise, quickly went away. Label stopped calling us, and we had success overseas about 5 months after that. So we were in a place for 5 months where we were pretty sure it was over.
So then 2020 rolls around. We're at like the beginning of the pandemic, and there's a TikTok trend. How did that, do you guys know what spawned that and how that started?
I found out talking to my friend Rick, who I used to apprentice fixing guitars under. He was like my boss, and we take our guitars to him to fix, and he's this old crusty punk dude who wouldn't talk to me about Wheatus if it was the last conversation we ever had. And but we're friends, you know, because we work together. And he says to me, "There's something happening with your band," you know. And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "You never talked to me about it." He's like, "My daughter says that something is happening with your band." So it was like his 12-year-old daughter knew. And that's how I found out. So,
do you guys care to explain what the trend was? It
was really quite delightful, actually. It was like people doing pictures of themselves from when they were younger compared to now. And
but it was their teenage dirtbag years?
Yeah, that. That very different, like Katie Couric's was not dirtbag upbringing by any stretch.
But like some people were making fun of themselves that like I wasn't at all a dirtbag, but this is a fun trend and this is what I, you know, like I was a nerd or I was in ballet class or and then some people were like, you know, colored hair and you know, a band t-shirt and so it was sort of
I liked one person put a picture of them on the hood of a police car. I thought that was pretty good. It was fun. Good. It was fun.
I think it was like it had this sort of appeal where anybody could like show the pictures of their youth and it was like cute and it was delightful and it had this I think, pretty universal, like, appeal, even though not everybody, maybe would have called themselves a dirtbag in their youth. Like, everybody sort of got a little fun out of it, digging up their old pictures of themselves,
It was like one of those nice, wholesome things at a time where I think we needed it. I'm sure you saw some kind of resurgence in downloads and people tuning into your music.
Yeah, a bit. Oddly, we had begun to see a little bit of a resurgence in the States before that. We had been invited by Art Alexakis from Everclear to play his Summerland tour. A very cool move on his part, much appreciated. And we went out with Hoobastank and Living Color on that one. Did a whole summer worth of touring. It was really fun.
It was.
It was the best American touring we've ever done, and got off of that and got a bunch of other gigs, and we've been touring the States and heavier than ever.
Yeah, and like some big festivals. We did a cool festival down in Florida and in Atlantic City with some really cool bands on the bill, and so I think that's probably somewhat related to the TikTok thing.
Yeah.
So tell us about the UK tour. What does that look like? It sounds like you're hopping around to a bunch of countries doing a long on the road gig, and it sounds awesome, but exhausting, but awesome.
It's exhausting.
Yes.
It's 47 shows starting September 13th and ending November 8th. I think we have 7 days off in that time.
I think it's like 1 day a week we have off, which is a lot for us.
Wow. Gabrielle, do you still play as an individual artist, as an opener on a lot of these shows?
So I have done, I think I've opened on like 2 tours. The last year I actually had a vocal injury. Now that I am recovered, I am sort of getting back on the horse with my own stuff. I have a record coming out in the spring, and I am doing shows now. And I will, like, when we get home from tour, I'll be doing shows, my own shows more regularly. But I had about a year period of, rehabbing from an injury. So
Are you guys going back in the studio? Or are you recording some new
Always.
tracks?
We're always in the if we're home, we're in the studio. It's always happening. Yeah. I was singing a Christmas version of Teenage Dirtbag all day.
I cannot wait to hear that. I cannot wait to hear that.
It's really funny. The lyrics are really good.
She wrote most of it.
No, but he
I tweaked, but you wrote.
You did really awesome tweaks.
You did the most.
Thank you guys so much for coming on, for doing this, and for sharing your awesome music. And we're in Cleveland, so when Wheatus is finally put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we will house you here, and we will have a party for you right here in studio. So we can't wait.
We love Cleveland. Actually, there's a band that I really was into that nobody knows about called the Sons of Elvis. They're from Cleveland. You know anybody in that band? Dave Hill, the comedian, was the bass player for that band.
There's so many good bands that come out of this area, for sure. Where can people check you guys out?
So you can check Wheatus out at Wheatus.com. If you want to check out the shows, Wheatus.com/shows. We're on all streaming sites, Spotify, Apple Music, so on and so forth, all of them, YouTube and so on. And on Twitter, you can talk to me directly. It's usually me yelling at some Republican for something and promoting tour dates and whatnot. And Gabrielle has her own music also streaming on Spotify and all the rest of it, Gabrielle Sturbins. Is it GabrielleSturbins.com?
It is.
Right. Okay.
But my socials are Disturbance because in the 5th grade, I was a disturbance in class, so.
A teenage dirtbag and a 5th grade disturbance. Check them out.
So where were you last night?
I told you I was going out shopping with the girls.
Don't lie to me.
Look, there's somebody else. I'm sorry.
I knew that you would. I knew 'cause you told me it runs in the family, and I did the same. So I guess that I deserve half of the blame. Do you remember the way it was for us before all of the blowjobs?
So we're talking about people being dishonest. Where people are dishonest the most is on the dating apps. Let's get into not the specific apps, but what people do on their profiles that absolutely pisses you off.
Shall we start with the bathroom selfie? In the mirror?
Men do the bathroom selfie?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
In the mirror with the towel on. Sometimes the towel off. Like, you know, this one gentleman, we wanted to get together, and he's like, I got my own money. And he had his own towel rack, too, clearly. So, you know.
Because when I think, first of all, men... Like,
if you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about like the profile pictures, not when they like get your thing and they start sending you dick pics,
Yeah,
right?
Like,
I am not either.
So you don't want to see that dick, Cassie?
No.
Sir Mylan's profile picture is a dick.
No, it's not. It's me.
That's what I said.
A real picture
That
of
is
me.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Here's my thing. Like, I feel like these men in their profile pictures are the violators of this, what we're talking about, I should say. So they either are wearing sunglasses in every picture.
Why?
Right.
Are you missing an eyeball?
Right. Why can't I see the eyes?
Eyes are so important.
I know. Or it's 100 pictures of their motorcycle.
This motorcycle's not as bad as the other things.
All of their pets.
Oh.
But you understand that the profile picture is to gain the engagement, the attraction.
Right. But I'm okay
So they
with
think
one
that's what
picture of the
ladies want.
pet. I don't need 17. Like, I'd rather see pictures of them, or it's pictures of them back from the service or high school, and there might be one picture of them, maybe with hair or without hair.
Well, they wear hats in every picture, so then it's like, you know, you're like wondering, are they hiding that, like,
yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't matter if you don't have hair or not. Like,
Well, it does to a lot of women. I've talked to a lot of women who are like, I won't date a guy which is really sad.
That's
It
interesting.
sucks.
I mean, because over time, a lot of men lose their hair. I mean, it's just what happens.
I just think it's one thing, like,
But some guys can
again,
pull it
it's the
off, and
whole
some
being
look like George
transparent.
Costanza.
Pull off their hair.
If you had a hat on and all your pictures, and then you show up and you don't have any hair, then it's like you feel they might feel like they were misrepresented. Right.
So do you guys, and this is for the straight people, do you meet these people on these apps, and then maybe do you guys engage in like video chat before you actually meet, or do you
If you take too long to meet with someone, it fizzles out.
Yes, it does, for sure. And I don't do a video chat. I mean, I know that's kind of a newer thing. A lot more people are doing that now, but
a lot more of the apps are finally like integrating that into it, so that you don't have to give. Because like the other thing too is like as a female, there's a lot of things that you have to be protective of.
Yes, for sure.
So like, I don't even give out my real phone number anymore.
You shouldn't. Yeah. Not before you meet the person.
And a lot of them want to get off the app right away, and I'm like whatever.
Which I don't understand either. Like, what is it? The app is? Are they not allowed to say?
It's because they can't send you pictures.
They can. Oh.
Some of them you can.
Yeah, I think they can.
Well, no, but they'll flag it if it's a dick pic. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in some of the apps I've seen.
I feel all these guys, they want to get off and go to these chat sites. I'm not doing. If you can't chat with me here for a week, then something's suspicious.
Well, obviously, if it's WhatsApp, like that's automatically a red flag that they're a scammer.
Google number.
Yeah.
Well, I use a Google number to like talk to them because.
So why don't y'all just go to bars? Why don't you get off the app?
Because
if it's not working.
That's for some people, that game gets old. If
Yeah.
you're trying to go to different bars all the time, if you go out with the intention of meeting someone, you're going to be miserable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, see, I like that they're agreeing with me.
Well,
I'm just talking my.
Wait, say that. Wait, I missed that.
If you go out, if you're like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to like pick up a chick tonight, you're going to be miserable because then you're not enjoying the night,
right?
And you're so dead set on that.
Want to be
goal.
like organic.
Well, and I think it's really hard to meet people organically now because like there's such this thing of like, is this person talking to me because they're interested, or are they talking to me because they're trying to get something out of me?
Right.
And a lot of women have told me like, I thought you were trying to like network, like business talk with me because I'm just like, it's nice to meet you. What do you do?
Yeah.
So
maybe I'm just a guy that's just very direct and straightforward, and I know how to navigate through these apps. Like, I'm just saying.
It's a different world.
Yeah,
but not even,
is.
I just think as a person, like, why get on the apps if you're not going to?
Right. Why get on the app and stay on the app?
Yeah.
Everyone here would agree with that. The problem is that's not the reality.
I try to meet somebody as quickly as possible if
too.
I'm talking to them and like I'm interested in them. I want to try and meet them as soon as possible to find out A, if you're real.
Two.
Right? B, if we have any actual connection.
But do you
because
understand that you can? It's shortcuts now, like video chatting, so you don't have to waste your gas or any money.
Yeah, there are
to so many different.
But video, because they can send you. You can video chat. You can do all this, but there's still filters. There's still all kinds of shit.
Not really
Well,
on
I
video
know what you mean.
chat,
I know what you mean, Miles. I mean, because it's the thing, like, because I remember this one a couple years ago, and as soon as we made a connection on the app, he's like, "Let's meet at so and so," and I'm like, "Let's have a conversation first." You know,
yeah,
let's
there
have a
is
conversation first.
There is a line, like you can't just be like,
yeah, like
I'm-
I don't want to see, like he had these pictures up, you know, nice looking guy or whatever, but he immediately wanted to like go somewhere. Now the thing is, if I met the same person in the grocery store, I would want to still have a conversation with you over the phone. Like I don't necessarily want
What
to.
if he was like diddling a cucumber in the fruit and vegetable aisle?
You diddling, you can just
Like,
hang
hi,
out with,
can I get
you
your
can
number?
diddle by yourself, honey.
Do you work here? He's like, no. I just diddle.
Yeah,
Playing
so
with the
it's
grapes.
like for me, it's like, you know, it's an organic progression. Like whether it's on the app, whether it's at the bookstore, or whatever. Like let's have a conversation. I want to hear how you talk to me. Like I can't just, you can't get the feel on a text message.
Yeah.
You know, people talk all the time.
There are
on these
so
apps.
many people, especially probably I would say younger, like on the younger side of the spectrum with women I know, who like have so much personality and texting are fun and have a good sense of humor. Then you meet them in person, it's like you can hear the literal crickets coming out from behind them.
You're like, that's how you communicate. You communicate well on that text, but you do not know
They
how
go to the
open your
bathroom
mouth.
and then suddenly they're telling jokes again. You're like, what the fuck's going on?
Come on and talk
Or they're
to
a
me.
soft talker. They're like,
Oh, the soft talkers.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they can curate the conversation then, right? Like they have to think about it in person, like, or, you know, they have to be immediate in person. Whereas like in text, like you can take some time and think about what you want to say.
That's
and,
a very good point.
You know,
actually.
even Google funny things to say, right? So
Right,
you're-
exactly.
Right, and be done with it, and just not have to really continue to engage.
But when you're in person, like
you have
you're
to
on.
really engage
You're
and
on.
talk. Mhm.
You know, you're on.
You're talking about the mirror selfie. Women I noticed there's a lot of women who take mirror selfies and it's always in the exact same pose with the same facial expression, where if you go through them fast enough, it just looks like their outfits
Like
change
the
and that's it.
same- yeah.
It's the exact same angle. It's like everything is set up and I'm like, this tells me nothing about you. It
right.
tells me you're a narcissist, actually. So I don't care how hot you look. Like there's no interest there to me.
Do you guys think that maybe you guys are just too analytical when it comes to this?
Oh my God, that takes all the fun out of it.
Yeah.
If you can't play detective, if you can't play Batman, the original
So,
detective,
right.
trying to find the diddler, what's the point of any of this?
Okay.
Portia and I, one of our favorite pastime is researching these people and Googling everything and doing background checks. I mean,
I do that immediately.
You have to do it. You got to do it.
Immediately.
You have to do it.
I was
If-
offended when I found out people did that. And I'm like, all right, fine. They're not
If
going
I
to find
don't do
anything
that
about me.
immediately, my best friend will be like, "Hey, listen."
Yes, yeah.
You know, like I have my crew that's like, "Wait a
Yes,
minute, hold
I
up."
know,
You know,
right?
if I
Yeah.
go out with someone who I don't have any mutual friends with, I text her my location. Like, you got to do that.
Absolutely.
I mean, send the picture of the person you're with,
Yeah.
Yeah,
where
you
you're gonna
have to
be,
do
what
that.
time, and
You have to do
everything.
that.
And I respect that now, knowing what I know. Like the first time somebody like snapped my picture, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, oh, I kind of get it. So
Right. You can't even take it personal. It's just what
no,
it is.
you have to jump through the hoops. The one thing I'll say as a guy that kind of sucks is a lot of the heavy lifting in the conversation up front is on you. And trying to be original with like an opening line and not being that person who copies and pastes is tough. And not only is it not usually appreciated, I would say, but the one person got offended when I was just making that trigger, that person who was on edge. And it's like, well, then I guess I'm just going to say, hello, my name is Matthew. I would like to meet you.
Right.
How's your sloppy head game?
My thing is like, I don't need an original line to even start a conversation.
Well, because you're a nice, normal person.
Like because to me, like if I'm, it almost feels like you're getting a line, right? Like if it's like really too curated in the beginning,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just like, I'm fine with the hi. Like just if we match and you say hi, then like we'll start a conversation. Like because I'm in the same boat of like I don't know what to tell like other people like
Yeah.
to message the guy first because like there's Bumble where you message the guy first,
Which is why I love Bumble.
I
It was
love
brilliant.
that was my favorite.
That's
I mean,
the best because of
obviously
that.
got off of it, but I liked Bumble.
But of course the straights are going to dominate this panel, but it's fine.
Well,
No, it's okay. We love
you're
all
supposed to be the
perspectives.
dom here. That's why we invited you onto the
And
book.
I am.
What's another one I hate is when the girl, the woman's main photo or a bunch of her photos or group photos. So you're playing Where's Waldo and you're
right.
like, I don't know which one you are.
Hate that.
That doesn't make any
and
sense.
they're all cute but one, and you're like, yep.
And that's a sad thing. It's like,
That's
are you
the one.
thinking that you're going to trick me and then you show up on the date? And it's horrible. I feel bad because I think a lot of people are doing that who again have low self-esteem. So they take pictures with their really good-looking friends, hoping it's like the group median.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey.
That just doesn't make any sense. Unless it's a group dating app. It's
But it
not
is-
a group dating.
it
I've
is-
never heard that before.
It is so common.
It is.
Really? And I
Yeah.
haven't seen that. Like when I was on apps, it would just be pictures of them.
Well, yeah, because we're narcissists, but like the women do that a lot.
But I'll tell you this, and speaking of profile pictures, so being here from Cleveland, it's interesting. When I was on those apps, I'm like, do these people, do they know they're on dating apps? Like, why are they on here? Because their presentation was just
Right.
like,
Left something to desire?
yeah, it's like,
Right.
where
are you
have
laying in
you
the
been?
dumpster?
Yeah, where have you been?
First impressions are everything.
Yeah,
Like,
and why
and
would
this
you
is
put-
the impression you're putting out there because, to my
Oh
point
my
earlier, a lot of
God.
people don't read the profile. They're just looking at the picture, right?
Well, yeah,
Some of
ever
those
since
pictures.
swiping became a thing, that's
Yeah,
what it was.
And what's
Carpal tunnel
interesting,
swiping all
yeah,
that.
about the Cleveland area and what I found, because if you go to different areas, those apps, they're location based, so they pick up,
Yeah.
different people. So if I would be in Columbus or so, and I would look, and I'm like, wow, look at that, and I would forget
Right.
that I'm in a, I'm
Totally
like,
with you.
oh look, this brother is from Cleveland. I'm like, oh, I'm in Columbus.
Yep.
So
you get
it's
a whole
very-
fresh set.
You get and I mean the aesthetic, they go on there because like I want to look
Cleveland is
good.
not the best
No,
place
I
to
understand.
date.
No, I understand.
No,
that.
no. I'm saying
Yeah.
from my own experience.
Yeah.
When I traveled without realizing the same thing, that it's on like a travel mode, which I wasn't purposely doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they're like, oh, if you live somewhere else, I don't want to date you. I'm like, I wasn't even trying to.
Right.
I thought I was matching with somebody back home where I was on a work trip. Cleveland, you need to step it up, man.
Yes.
You need to.
Well,
I
I
realize
guess
that
you
we
don't
hibernate
for me.
and we do cuffing season and everyone gets married off, but like single people, just like couple.
I don't date in Cleveland.
And
I mean, it's just,
Sir Miley, what
That's
magical
wise,
world
honey.
do you
That's
live in?
wise. Me neither.
Where do you date?
can I be transparent?
I hope.
Okay.
Yeah,
I am being transparent.
we can go there.
So, I always felt like, and Mariama can agree with this. Like, I always felt like an alien here. Like, I did not belong here.
Come on.
So,
Yes.
if the Cleveland is just whack, and it's our home. We love it, but the East Coast and the West Coast is funner.
Mm.
So you meet, and that's where people,
Yeah.
So
wait, you do long distance dating?
Can I have a story? I met a guy.
Yeah.
Just this past, it's been almost a year. I met him on an app. It was a red flag in the very beginning because the picture didn't match. Because I video chat, like picture. Call me on video chat.
Yeah.
Video chat. Because I'm going to give you all of me. And Mariama know that I will give you all. I look like my pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I look like my pictures.
Well, yeah, but you have pretty pictures.
I
Not
do.
everybody does.
And I'm pretty in person. But when I video chat him, he was not what he looked like in the picture.
At all?
He was bigger,
Okay.
which is fine. But that should have been a red flag. And the conversation, he was in Baltimore. I love
B-boy.
Baltimore. I love the East Coast.
I like Cleveland better than Baltimore.
Oh, dude, you must have never kicked it in Baltimore then, or DC.
I'm not going to the places you're
Yeah,
going on.
Well, I don't
Anyway,
like
it's
DMV
out.
is just
First of
such
all,
a
I don't go to gay
colorful
clubs.
place.
That's to put that out there. I don't do all of that.
You don't
Like,
need to. You're meeting straight men. Go to like
And I
Applebee's
am.
or something.
But I met him. The conversation was great. So the conversation is what got him. 2 weeks later, he came here. We hit it off. But it was still a red flag because he was, that 80-20, 50-50, 60-40. Like, he only, really was, 6-40 of what I would, like, the communication, the emotional availability. Everything else, I just was not feeling.
You weren't feeling.
But because I was going through an emotional thing, losing my brother, grieving, losing a relationship, that he get that little 40% that he was able to offer was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it lasted until it couldn't last no more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was great, for Christmas. No, for Thanksgiving, he flew me down to Charlotte to meet his mother. And he drove down to Baltimore while he flew me down to
So
Charlotte.
why was it bad?
I'm a man. Like, the aesthetic was not what I wanted. And then he was like a bottom. Like, he was just like a complete, total bottom. And I was just like, I don't want that. That's not what I want.
It hits you. You're like, wait a minute, no.
Like, I'm just not like.
When you say he's a bottom, can you define that? Because
I will say it in the most tasteful way ever.
Say it in the most tasteless way.
I think maybe I've figured it out.
Okay, you figure it out. But I am not that, though. But I want someone who's free like me. Like, I don't fall into the label thing with anything.
So you're a switch.
I am a free spirit. I don't know what the fuck switch means. I still don't understand that shit. Switch means flip-flop? Is that what that means? Switch?
Yeah, it means, yeah.
How do you know? And I don't know. But anyway.
I've been doing a podcast called Going There where we
and you have,
learn about...
And you're a researcher, and you have great researchers.
Our season finale of season 1 was on kinks and furries and swingers.
And was Switch part of that conversation?
Yeah, because they were using all these terms. And I tried to go in very researched and not, like, I was trying not to exploit, make it a voyeuristic kind of thing, but actually learning and giving space to, because of the Puritan stuff, it's like, hey, whatever happens in your bedroom, as long as it's consent and it's adults.
It's not in the bedroom.
You're good. Or at the hood of the car, whatever.
In the woods.
Or at the Applebee's with Karen and
clubs.
the diddler.
Have you ever been to a swingers club?
Yeah, I admitted on the show. We went there because of that episode.
Okay.
And not my jam. It's not my jam.
It's not mine either.
So go to Sir Milan Swingers Club, opening in Cleveland and with a new location in Baltimore.
Do that. And I would do that.
Yeah.
Well, swingers club is not my thing because I have been approached by a lot of couples that were open with their relationship, and they wanted me to engage with him while she watches.
Yeah. Yep. The couple.
So
what's the reverb? The cuck-queen. It's called a cuck-queen.
Well, they still call it a cuckold.
I am learning, honey. I'm learning.
It's
today.
a deep. Like you should do another episode with season 3 about that.
Threesomes.
Season 3
Yeah.
Season 3somes. Yeah.
Well, you see that a lot on the apps, though. Like, there's a lot of open relationships.
E&M has become a very widely used term now.
Right. Like, you'll get people who message you and they're like, I'm happily married, but my husband and I blank.
I am too.
Sapiosexual?
Sapiosexual. He said sapiosexual.
Like Homo sapien? Sapio?
Makes sense.
I'm a sapiosexual as well.
Yeah, I need to be able to connect here, honey. You got to get me here.
Kim, like just like her, I can be attracted to someone's intelligence. And because I'm an artist, like even I'm a wordsmith, I'm an author, I'm a playwright, I'm all of these things. So if someone can I think in my former life, I probably was Cyrano de Bergerac because that the writing of the letters, like that thing is beautiful to me.
Yeah, so if they can't stimulate your mind, they can't stimulate the rest.
Absolutely.
I think a lot. I mean, I shouldn't say a lot of people. I think that is a large group of people who,
and that might be reason why like we stick to the apps because we kind of. It's almost romantic in a sense because you get to get someone's true feeling in a word when you type it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the wordsmith who introduced Gooch today in this episode. Okay,
I didn't introduce it.
Oh, Spitfire! I'm gonna list off some other things, and you guys chime in as you want. Things that I feel like really need to be said out loud. Stop it with women taking pictures. So far, it looks like the Hubble telescope took it.
Yeah.
Where it's like they're looking like this because anybody can look tiny if that's what you're trying to do.
Slimmer, yes.
Stop using the photos with your expert. It's obvious you cut them out.
Oh my
Especially
God.
if it's a wedding
so
photo.
bad.
And have her arm is there.
Why? Like, why? I don't even understand.
Because people think that's when they look the prettiest.
Yeah.
That's why they choose those pictures.
Yeah.
The outdated photos, like you were saying. I think men are worse about that than women, especially
I don't know. I don't know.
I haven't run into a lot of that.
I feel like that's the biggest hang up for men is the outdated pictures.
I feel like for me, it's been less outdated and more not accurate or touched up. The photoshopping, there's nothing worse than you go through a person's profile, and I don't care how good looking the woman is, it's all Snapchat filters on their face with the dog noses and shit. I'm like, what? Are you a 6-year-old? Like,
well, the thing is like Photoshop's so easy. Like, I mean, you can get Photoshop on your phone now, basically.
Absolutely.
Like, you don't even have to do a filter.
Right.
And that's why it's like, I don't even trust what the photos look like. I don't, because I've had a couple of situations where it's like, this is not all who was in the photos.
Well, I had a guy who we were chatting for like 2 weeks. So I'm like you. I like to meet people sooner than later. Conversation was going great. And the pictures on his profile looked like he was a 50-something-year-old man, normal looking, nice build, little goatee, on a boat, just nice looking. So he's like, but he lived in Michigan. I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I'm not really looking to move to Michigan, right? Can't say
Ann Arbor?
never. That's how
You went to
Central Michigan.
Oh, okay.
See, she just made a point. I just made a point.
Fire up chips.
He's over here doing a side.
Right. What
It was
I'm
Tuesdays
sorry.
with Maury. And
I'm
I
a
was
leader.
really
I'm
enjoying
sorry.
myself.
I know this is Matt's show.
But this
I'm
is
sorry,
my bait
guys.
and switch because so I show up, I meet this guy. He's like, I'm going to come down from Michigan. I would do myself a disservice if I didn't meet you. I'm like, all right, so we're going to go to dinner. So I meet him and he's getting a hotel room. Not for any purpose, he said. I'm not driving back to Michigan if we've had wine. Okay.
But, and that's fair if that's true.
And I agree. There was nothing going to happen there unless something like really clicked. But I show up where he's staying and I walk in, I'm looking around and I'm like, and I hear this little voice go, Karen? And I'm like, what? And I turn around, it's this like little old man. He's like 73 years old. No.
Was it Woody Allen, the
No.
OG diddler?
No, but I was like,
Lord.
oh.
Oh, God,
and I
don't
go,
bring him up,
whatever
child.
his name
No.
was, Chad. I'm like, you don't, like, wow. I'm like, you don't look anything like your pictures. I'm like, how old are you anyway? And he told me he was like 72. And I go,
I took the bus here from Central
Yeah.
Michigan.
not too far off.
Transportation.
Yeah. It was just so
I
weird.
need someone to change my diaper.
Yeah. And he goes, well, I'd never be able to go out with younger women if I told him my real age. I'm like,
Well, then you
But
shouldn't
this
be
is
going
messing
out.
it all up right here.
messing it all up.
Come on. So he put pictures from 20 some odd
Yeah.
years ago?
Did it say his age on the profile?
It was 56.
Oh, now that, okay. If he was like 56 and he was like 60 or something, I'd be like, that's
no.
shitty, but 72?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it could be worse.
I
It could be
can't
the
deal
boot
with
guy.
liars.
Here's
Just straight up lies.
here's one of the other things that's a story I want you to share. I find this, I think, in the late 20-somethings, which I don't try to match with them, but sometimes they show up when you run out of everyone in
Yes.
Cleveland, and you get
You get two a day
the
in one
goddamn
store.
duck lips. Like they're still doing the duck
Oh, they
lips.
still do the duck lips?
Oh my God! It shows how
Yeah,
much the
that's horrible.
Kardashians have ruined the society.
Yes.
Don't you blame the Kardashians?
I will die on that hill. The Kardashians are one of the worst things to happen.
I didn't know people still did the duck lip.
Oh my God. Cassie, how do you feel about men who post pictures with dead animals from hunting?
Toupees? Is that what you mean?
No. Actual dead animals.
Toupee.
I'm right with one.
Or they just holding them like, because it looks manly. That's why they do it.
I think a lot of women are really turned off by that.
But
It's
they-
not
they
it's
may
not for
not
me.
think that.
I'm not. There are women that like are okay with like hunting and
And
stuff.
I'm not saying like, they're in hunting gear. I'm saying they're like holding a dead animal like up like their trophy prize. I'm like, I don't
know why. Well, I think why people do that is some people have engaged with that. So they're like, let me keep putting pictures up there like that.
Right.
So like I think about, this was like last week. I was just walking and this guy, I was walking up a gas station parking lot, just minding my business walking. The guy's like, hey, mama, man, and all this stuff, whatever. And I told him, I said, I don't respond to A. And I just kept walking. And I'm thinking, people do that because somebody has responded and going.
But have they? That's what I want to know.
I've told like somebody, I'm like, and like this is no offense to like all men, but men won't do things if they don't get rewarded.
Exactly.
That's
Because he's
human
not going to
behavior
just
in
be
general.
putting up
Yeah.
pictures if somebody is not going to be like,
But that's what I wonder. When did this ever work? Did it ever work?
But I think it's the thing is, it just has to work once.
But did it? When you get
I think out of
unsolicited dick pics on a second text, was there somebody who fell for it?
Yeah, of course. That's
Because
why
there are some women.
It's massive.
I'm not talking about you. I was talking to the
I
women.
am speaking for in general.
No.
There's
No.
There's some women that are going to be like, you know what?
Fuck
Maybe
it.
I am into just a one night thing. If like
You might say, but you may not go over there. I know a lot of men will not do things because fear of rejection or not getting. I
think people in general.
You're right.
In the
So
dating
I
world,
think
you're
if
supposed to be a little
men-
vulnerable, and it's tough to be like, I'm going to put myself out there
Right.
and not get rejected.
Right. So I think if a man decides to put up a picture of hunting, that one person, was like, "Ooh, this is interesting." So he's like, "Ooh, let me try it again." But if no one ever responded to that, he's gonna find some other picture. Because
no, he's not.
You think so?
Men, we are one track. So if
I actually agree with him.
You know, they just hear one track. So if he's saying and he's thinking I don't know how to express myself, but I'm into hunting, so I'm gonna put up a picture of me hunting,
and look, if that's what you're into, I'm not a fan of that. But the reason I brought it up and put it on this list is because I ask women right off the bat, what are some of the things that drive you nuts? And more often than not, it's the hats, sunglasses, and dead animals.
Yeah.
I have never heard
didn't
of
say
dead
gym
animals.
pictures?
And motorcycles.
Oh, yeah.
That's another thing too in the gym.
I don't think any of the girls hate
In the
that
mirror.
too much.
Unless it's every single picture.
If it's every
Right.
Because then it's
too
you're
much
just a
of anything's
narcissist.
bad.
If you're every picture
And
you in
they're
the
all
gym.
on the same machine at Planet Fitness. It's the same damn fucking machine. I swear there must be a sign above that says take
a
yourself
picture
here.
This is the photo booth right here.
It is because they're all in the same. You're like, oh.
Two other things. One, and these are more ethical issues I have. Maybe not ethical. One is photos with your kids in them.
Yeah. Oh no.
To me, first of all, I'm not really looking for somebody with kids. I don't have kids, whatever. I'm not going to not date someone because they have kids. But if you're putting your kids in your photos, I'm like, because you know how bad guys are.
Yeah.
You want them to have it.
I think it's one thing if they block out their face.
No, if the faces
So
are
then
blocked
you know that
out,
they have. Yeah, if you know that they have children.
I'm saying where they
But,
have
they-
family photos
yeah.
with the kids' faces in
Nah.
them. That's problematic.
Is that not letting? That's a part of their lives.
No. But showing the kids' faces
on the
there's
app?
a lot of pervs out there.
Yeah, I want to.
Oh, a lot.
Oh,
a lot.
okay. From that, okay.
And I think too,
I
just
get it.
out of respect for your child.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I mean,
they're
the child
not
is a
asking to be
minor.
put out there.
Yeah, my son is 17. I have to ask him permission to put
Some
his
people
picture.
get funny about it.
I'm like, can I put a picture up? He's like,
So I mean, the child can't consent to that, and you don't know where that photo's going to
yeah. And if
end
they're
up.
so young, I mean, no.
And that's in the dating world where we're talking about all these people who are creepy and sending dick
Yeah.
pics, and there's your innocent child's face.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think that's very
100%
wrong.
agree.
Yeah. People are voyeurs
Yeah.
and they're predators.
And the other thing, people looking for love and starting with hate. And it's like, if you voted for this person, don't even fucking swipe.
yeah.
Or I don't want some snowflake. Or if you're vaxxed, then go fuck you. It's like, and it's not just one side. It is both extreme sides.
is,
I'm like,
totally.
Well,
so
in the
you're
gay
looking-
culture is no fats or femmes.
yeah.
That's a
You've
big
said you've
thing.
shared that before, and that's just shitty. It's like, well, it depends on what you're doing. If it's a hookup, then I guess you're being transparent, as you would say. But if you're like, I'm looking for my person, unless this person is a Democrat or something, it's like, I think you're doing this wrong.
Right.
I think you might be looking for love through hate. It doesn't really work out too
Doesn't
well.
work out.
That's interesting. I think on one hand, though, it's like,
There's a way to.
it's a non-negotiable. Right. There's a way to put that.
mostly
Yeah.
have-
Like I
ask-
think on mine I have if you voted this way, we're probably not going to work out.
And that's a different. That I'm not saying that. And most of them
But
ask,
yeah,
like,
I've
you can
seen
put
where it's like,
conservative.
don't swipe
you can
on me
put,
if you've done
Right,
this.
right.
And I have to say, this is just me. If there's you can search for this. If it's Christian conservative, I tend to not match with them. And it's not because I have problems with them, but one, that's a lot of women I dated in the past. And that's a lot of where my personal religious trauma and all that shit comes from. I want somebody who's a little more open-minded so you can put it on there. And I have to say this, and I feel really bad saying this, but conservative women have it going on. They are so, I just feel like some of the most put together women I've seen, I'm like, oh, she's hot. And it's Trump 2024. I'm like,
You mean
fuck.
visually? I got you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I feel the same way with conservative men.
Oh, yeah, man. That Sir Mylan's the one picking him up on the backside of it anyway. So
The backside of the roadway.
tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong.
How well did you do at the RNC when Cleveland hosted it a few years back?
I mean, listen, they had parties. That's what the thing. Men really, and that's with the gay culture and straight culture. Because I have to talk about it both because they composite both of them.
Yeah.
When your man is away at conventions, he's doing his thing.
Wow.
So let's talk about other issues we notice in general in the dating world. One of the things that I wanted to talk about for a second is, you don't owe people a whole lot of anything. One of my problems is sometimes I would feel I'd feel bad. I should send a Dear Karen email. No, but the lack of just basic, like there is one expectation I have, human decency and respect.
That's it.
And that seems like it's too much to ask. And the thing is, the longer it is that you're talking, I feel like the more you can have expectations for, hey, you should at least do this. One of the things that bothers me more than anything is ghosting. And people do it and they feel, I think it gives them power. And it's like, sometimes it's like, hey, I wasn't even that into you, but I wouldn't just do that because that's just shitty.
Right.
And I feel like it's become so normalized
Yes.
that that's everyone's escape.
Right.
And it's like
'Cause it's an
so
easy
convenient.
way. It's easy to just do that. And it's
That's true.
I know women do it. I know men do it. I've honestly, admittedly, I've
Oh,
probably
you've
done it.
done it. You talked about it in the
Probably
book.
a couple times I've
Yeah.
done it. But
Sometimes
I don't,
it's necessary.
I don't choose
Oh,
to
yeah.
do it, you know.
Like
But
if you've been chatting for like a day, no big deal.
Right,
But it's
right.
like you go on a
couple
date and then
weeks and- right.
she's like, hey, I'd love to go on a second date or a third date or something, depending on it. And I'm even talking, you know, before when I was single, like a decade ago. And it's like, what? Why didn't you just say you weren't interested? I don't understand why
Right.
people
Well, I went
say
on a
that.
date with
everything
somebody, and afterwards I was like, I wasn't into him. And so I said, I was like, hey, like, I'm just not really interested in like taking this any further. I got berated by them.
By just telling them?
Yeah.
See, I've
And
always,
that could be probably a reason why some people just ghost
Right.
people because they don't want to.
you don't
Because
want to
yeah,
do
you're
it.
like,
wanna
and,
be
and again, that's why
reactive.
again where I think it leads to like not wanting to give out your real phone number and stuff. Because like if you do that, then it's like there's ways to find you. And
so it's when the person is the one who's still pursuing and then they disappear.
Yeah.
It's like, what
Right.
what were you
Right.
doing? What
I
was this for?
Yeah, I had an opportunity to talk to a person who ghosted me or tried. I guess we were gonna go somewhere. This was some years ago. He was like, "Hey, let's go here." He's not from here. See, I don't really connect with guys here.
Which Baltimore Raven is he?
No, not Baltimore. So it was interesting. So we were going to go out. We went out once, and we were going to go out again. He happened to be in town. We were going to go out. We had a good time, like good conversation, all this. And then at the time we were going to go out, no text, no nothing. So I'm like, okay. And sometimes I give people the benefit of the doubt. Anything could pop up, whatever. So the next day, I was like, okay, well, he definitely ghosted me, right? Because it was a whole, So I was like, okay, whatever. This is what happens. But then it was maybe like a month and a half later, I ended up seeing like the number. He put his number on a piece of paper. So I was like throwing stuff out of my purse. So I took a picture of it. I text him a number like, oh, I remember when you gave me this or whatever. It's really interesting. Like the last time I saw it, like, you ghosted me or whatever.
Right.
Immediately responded. He was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do. I had a lot going on or whatever. I was like, you could have just told me. And it was interesting because like after that, it was just fine just to have conversation. We didn't date anymore after that, but it was like, it's real simple. Like we just had a open, honest conversation.
That's
and
all
I think
it takes.
that's
It's a
all it takes.
conversation.
And I think sometimes people are not used to those open, honest conversations.
They're
So they
not.
decide, I'm just gonna ghost because this person is gonna, and it's
And
like,
do you know what the biggest problem is with that though? You don't get feedback. You have no idea because for all you know, there was something that you actually did.
Right.
How are you supposed to grow and learn from mistakes? And there's a lot of
Well,
guys
they don't
like
owe you nothing. They don't have to tell you that.
they don't have to, but then so one of my rules of dating, I have several rules that I created, and one of them is leave people better than how you found them. So look,
add value.
look, even if like it doesn't work out,
yeah.
I don't want to be a negative experience within my control. There's a lot of things I can't control.
Right.
If you berate me for saying I'm not into you, that's on you. That's a you issue. But I try to operate in a way that is, it's still lighthearted and fun and everything, but you have to have integrity as a human.
Absolutely.
But I have no idea, like, what if it is I'm a diddler? Like, I want someone to tell me, like, you do this and not everyone wants feedback. They want to live in that bubble where they pretend like I'm perfect. Everybody else sucks. I'm going to write a book about it.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I said diddle. You can diddle all you want. Just don't do it in the car. Do it on the bus. Do it on the train. Do it when you fly. Just don't do it around me.
yours is written from your point of view, right? And it's
Yep.
mostly to be entertaining for other women to
Yeah.
hear your stories. Have you ever, as far as getting feedback, talked to any of these people who's actually said, hey, maybe, you're the Joker, you're a different Batman
No,
villain.
I gotta say, no. No one's come to me and said that.
So you're a 10 out of 10 across the board in the
No, I'm
dating
not.
rate
I
sheet.
have plenty of faults, trust me. Like I said, I'm not looking for perfect for me. Like somebody, I'm not asking for a lot. I say that. I'm like somebody who has motivation in life, has goals in life, has a job, doesn't live in his mom's basement at 50 or 60 years old, has a car that runs and doesn't need to go to the shop because it can hardly make it down the street. Somebody who has got to have a sense of humor. It's great if they golf like me or have commonalities. Like, I'm not looking for somebody, not saying it wouldn't be nice if it just happened, but somebody who has a house in every country for the season or a car of every different color, whatever. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for just somebody who's what in my mind is what my nice is. Like, but you have to have a sense of humor to roll with me. I can't people that are dry sense of humor. I mean, Cassie's known me long enough, like, it's just that would never work out.
Yeah. And that's a preference thing. That isn't if this person doesn't have a good sense
Right.
of humor, they're never going to get a date.
Right.
They're not going to date someone like me.
Right.
I do find, and the women can tell me if you experience this too. Here's one overarching issue I have with the entire way that culturally we date. You'll go on and somebody's profile says, I'm just looking for my person. And they have all of those things. And so they've created a gingerbread man that they want you to fit into this mold. Right. And it's like you are going to not only end up finally out of desperation looking past all these red flags and just marrying someone because you want your person, instead of organically saying, hey, you know what? This might be interesting. This might be somebody new. So you don't let there be that kind of organic way of meeting someone. And you might find that even if it doesn't last, you might find a new friend, a new interest, a new hobby.
Yep.
Like I date Karen and suddenly I like golf, whatever it might be. And there's a lot of women who are like, well, if you're not looking to get married right away or looking for your person, I'm like, you're going to find a lot of guys who will tell you that. Instead of just being honest, it's like, how about, because they're like, well, I want to date with intention. I'm like, that's cool. I'm just saying, I think you're limiting yourself to the kind of people and experiences you're going to have.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is it's the people who aren't trying to find their people who find it, because Mariama wasn't looking. She finally gave up.
Yeah.
And then that gingerbread man came knocking on her door.
Yeah, I wasn't looking. I got off the apps. I was like, you know what? I got off the apps. But the thing about, I got on the apps just as a way, not that I had to find the person through that. It was my way of saying, I'm open. I'm ready. Because for so long, I would just be out in the world and I'm like, well, not finding them out here. So let's try it this way. Yeah. And it's funny because when I would share with people, there were a couple times I shared like on social media about apps. They're like, why are you on the app? You don't need to be on the app, girl. The apps are crazy. And I'm like, it's not about having to find, and that idea too, just being open.
Being open,
being open to just meeting new people, and I met
goes
folks.
on like what we was talking about in the room. Like we are moving in a world where that is where we're going to have to do these things.
Exactly.
Like, even if you go out to a bar or to church or to the grocery store, like you still have to meet someone.
Exactly.
So social media is just
another way.
It's just another way of meeting it. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand why people how are you going to meet somebody then? You ain't going to meet them sitting on your couch?
Mm-mm.
Well, it's really hard as an introvert.
Yeah.
I'm a super introverted person.
Mm-hmm.
So then
Are you a Scorpio?
No.
So you're right, because some people have actual social anxiety. So it's not like, oh, you just need to break out of your shell. It's like, no. Not happening.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to organically meet people. And I think the only way it ever really naturally happens is when you aren't out there trying to look for someone.
Right.
You end up not even, you'll talk to somebody not even thinking, oh, this person might be flirting with me.
Right.
And I think that's great.
Yeah.
But I also feel like you can't limit yourself to this is the one way I'm going to do it.
You can't do it. When mine was online, but it wasn't a dating app, I was just minding my business, doing some business online, and somebody showed
Sugardaddy.com.
up.
It's not really
No.
a dating app.
No. You showed up, and it was nice because it was super organic. We're just trying to get to know each other, like business-wise, actually, to see if possibly we'll do
Yeah.
business together. And then over time, we're like,
And that's really important too, because then you find indirectly, you know the person has drive, you know the person is passionate, you know the person is successful.
Yeah.
However you define success, right? Yeah, those things are important.
Worked for me.
They are.
Yeah.
How many people have experienced that? Like, where did people learn how to kiss?
Oh my
Previous
God.
to
Did you read my book, right, on that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Huh.
What you had names for them, like the jabber and the
Fish hook
poker and the
kisser.
the guy who's I've never heard of the fish
Yeah.
hook one.
Yeah. Put his
Fish hook.
Put his finger right in my mouth. Well, yeah.
What is that?
He was a Pisces. It's a water sign.
Oh my
He
God.
put his finger right here. I started doing this thing. I'm like, oh no.
He put his finger in your mouth?
Right in my mouth, right in the corner, and did that.
That's nasty.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
I agree.
Yeah.
Then
they're, the toilet bowl kisser. They're like, it's like,
why? Okay.
they just want to
anyway. You have had some interesting experiences.
And that's why right now I'm not on any dating sites right now. I'm just
taking a break.
And that's
Good.
good. That's
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta take a break.
You gotta take a break.
I'm going to share my dating rules because I think these could help some people, and I came to these by doing them the wrong way. And when I've broken them, I've usually been bitten in the ass, and not in a nice way. I haven't been fish hooked, but you got to go in with no expectations.
Absolutely.
As we said, you got to be open to whatever because you just never know.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you got to leave people better than how you found them. That's good karma. You don't want to end up on somebody's Facebook page.
I like that.
Never commit to more than a drink on the first date. Never commit to more than that. Because if you say, let's have a meal, and the person who showed up is not the person in the profile, then you got to sit through a meal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Commit to a drink, because the drink can turn into several drinks or a meal or
Coffee,
Applebee's and diddling, whatever. Like it can be
picnic at the park.
And,
that word diddling.
And one thing that Matt learned 10 years ago is do not treat it like work. So I'm very equally left and right brained. And so like the guy who dates is usually the creative guy, but the nerd in me was like, I built a spreadsheet and it really screwed me over because one, I was almost broke and ran out of time to go on like 12 dates in 8 days. I don't know what I was doing. I was trying to approach it like I approach business. But
it was a numbers
I'm
game.
going to throw myself under the bus
It's a
here.
numbers game, Matt.
So speaking of numbers, so I met somebody. I'm like, I'm so exhausted. I'm just going to talk to this person for a little while. And the other like 11 women I was talking to, not that like some of them I hadn't even been on a date with yet. Because I'm nice and I just don't ghost people, I wanted to send them a hello, Dear Karen text. The problem was I forgot to change the name from Karen on all of the other texts. So 11 women are like, Dear Sarah, and they're like, well,
that is not my name.
You're a dickhead. So I was mortified after it happened when I realized what I did, and it has become a
a mass text.
No, it wasn't a mass text. It was a copy and paste.
but you didn't. Edit
Oh, you didn't
the name.
you didn't edit the name. Okay, it wasn't generic. You just
On all of them, man.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, real dumb,
Yeah,
huh?
you're a douche.
Real dumb.
That is a numbers game.
It's a dilly dilly.
Oh, yeah, this was 10 years ago. That's why that's also on my rules. Do not treat it like work. It's not supposed to be work.
It's not. Though it can be a full-time job.
Relationships are work. Dating is supposed to be fun.
Yeah, but it can be a full-time job. Like if you're on more than one site and you get inundated by all these, just trying to respond or
And if you're type A and anal retentive, you're like, oh, I need to respond. Like you feel like you have to.
Because if you don't and you do it 3 days later, somebody will be like, well,
where'd you go?
They get a
And
little
that's why
feisty.
you can't treat it like work. Because you know what? If they get disinterested, oh well.
Yeah.
You have to see it as an outlet and something fun that could lead to something more. But if you go in with that mindset, you will end up sending 11 women a text with the wrong name on it.
Yes.
No, wait, I'm sorry. 10 women with the wrong name. One of them I got right, the first one.
Which was her name.
I hope so. My God, it's been so long, who knows?
Oh, my God.
So we're talking about organic ways to meet people. We actually met with somebody who is from Cleveland who runs a speed dating event company here for the locals for different things. So let's take a look at what that conversation looked like Even though we've been talking a lot about it, apps are not the only way to meet people. And you don't have to sit around, hold your breath, and wait for lightning to strike. There are other avenues, believe it or not. And we're here to talk to somebody who has some ideas that she can share with us. So tell us about who you are and what you do.
So very excited to be here. My name is Soli. I'm actually the event host for the Cleveland area predating.com. And we host two different types of singles events. So we host speed dating events. And if you've ever seen them on TV, very similar to that. But we also host lock and key party events. So two different completely type of events, but it's another way to get out there and meet new people.
Lock and key party, is that the one where you have to wear a mask and a robe and every? Okay, just wanted to make sure.
No.
So when I think of speed dating, my mind always goes immediately to the 40-year-old virgin, right? You probably get that a lot.
All the time, all the time. I mean, it's very similar to it. So if you've ever seen it on TV, very similar. You sit with someone for 6 minutes. I don't have a gong. No gongs here. I just have a little bell that I ring every 6 minutes. The guys get up, move to the next person or to the next lady. Then at the end of the evening, you'll have met roughly 10 to 12 people, sometimes more. And you on your match sheet, you'll indicate who you want to keep talking to. And then I do my match sheets, and they get their matches the next day of who they matched with. And they can continue on and make those dates for the weekend. So,
ooh. Is it possible to do these speed dating with BYOG? Bring your own gong? Can I bring my own gong and just smash it in, like not between rounds, but when I'm just done with the date?
You know, I have actually contemplated bringing a gong to one of my events, but I have a little bell and it works just fine.
Oh, okay.
I feel like it gets a little annoying after a while, but one of these days I'm going to find a portable gong to take with me to my events, yes.
I don't know how familiar you are with the history of it, but I guess it was created by a rabbi in 1998 in Los Angeles, where he and the students wanted to find a new way for, essentially it was like J-date before it was J-date. It was like for young Jewish people to meet each other and try to like meet as many people as possible. And then it took off because I feel like we've been hearing about speed dating ever since, right?
You know, so I started doing these speed dating events in Florida probably like 10 years ago. A friend of mine was like, come with me. And I refused at first, but then I went, made friends with the coordinator. Here in Cleveland, probably been doing it for about 7 years. I feel like they've had that negative connotation behind them because like, oh my God, I don't want to do speed dating. But now more and more people are trying to get out there and meet new people. So it's becoming a little bit more familiar to more people. But when I first started it, a lot of people didn't know what it was or just wanted nothing to do with it.
And let's think about it for a second. A lot of the things that have taken over the mainstream dating practices were at one point had that stigma, and people are like, oh, like I remember before I got married the first time, people are like, oh, I'm going to go on Match, or I'm going to go on the dating apps, or I'm going to go, and you're like, oh my, I would never, post-COVID and digital age, oh my gosh, like people, where do you meet people? How do you meet people? Speed dating sounds like an awesome opportunity. I want to get into the nuts and bolts of it, but first you talked about the lock and key. What is that? Is a lock and key party like the lock-ins that you used to do with the kids and stuff?
I get that question all the time. So basically what it is, it's informal. It's more of like a singles mixer happy hour type of event where you're not sitting with someone like you would at a speed dating event. Guys come in, you get keys, ladies get locks, and you basically try to find your match throughout the evening. And then I do some door prizes at the end of the evening, but it kind of just gives you that reason to go up to someone that you might not normally go up to, and we call it the ultimate icebreaker. So
it's you. The cheesy word is gamify. You gamify the match because they're already preset, the matches, but you have to figure out who.
It's random. It's random. I get that question. People are always like, which one's my key? And some of my locks and the keys have little numbers on them, but the numbers don't mean anything. It's just so I know how many I have. But it's just, like I said, it just gives you a reason to go up to them and talk to them. If the lock unlocks, then you want to keep continuing to talk. You keep talking. If not, you can move on to the next person and go from there.
You ever have anybody who swallows the key because they take it a little too seriously?
No, but I sometimes get ladies that want to take them home as souvenirs. I'm like, no, you can't take home my hardware.
Oh my good God. That's why there's numbers on them.
I know.
Let's talk through what speed dating looks like. How long does it go for? How long are people meeting and talking with each other? And what's kind of the atmosphere of it?
So as far as speeding, everyone registers ahead of time. So I rarely have people who just walk in. And if you walk in, may or may not be able to fit you in because I do try to keep it pretty balanced between men and women. I start promptly at 7 p.m. at all my events. But you'll come in, I will give an overview explanation of it, and you literally will just talk to the other person for 6 minutes. I'll come around, ring my little bell. Gentlemen will get up, they'll move to the next lady, do it all over again. At the end of the evening, you'll do a match sheet. You'll put on there who you want to continue talking to. And then I do a match sheet and you'll get your matches the next day of who you matched with. So it's not, sometimes people are like, always asking me like, am I going to meet the person I'm going to marry? Well, no, you're not going to meet the person you're going to marry at your first event, but it kind of gives you an opportunity to meet new people.
I think it's important to actually point out, if you're only looking for the person you're going to marry, my personal opinion is I think you're doing dating wrong.
Yeah. I always tell folks, come with an expectation of you're just going out to meet new people.
Yeah.
Like as if you're going out with the girlfriends or some of the guys, because that way you don't have that have expectations. 99% of the time I've had positive results as far as, people being very happy about the event and they actually had more fun than they initially thought.
That's great. Yeah. What does the demographic look like? Who's more inclined to join speed dating?
So I do different age ranges. So
so you do them in buckets and brackets and okay.
My event coming up next is 20s and 30s. The next one after that is like 40s and 50s. And I kind of mix them up every once in a while. Recently, all of my events have been filling up for the most part. My last event I had was 14 couples, and I call them couples because I've got men and women.
The only question that pops in my mind, because it's impossible to cater to everybody, but what if somebody is a man looking for a man?
So I've recently been asked about doing LGBTQ events. And for speed dating, I'm still trying to figure out logistically how that would work.
Yeah, I would imagine that'd be pretty tough.
But I'm trying it. I'm trying to figure it out. My hardest part is finding a location because I feel like that type of event would need to be at an LGBTQ-friendly venue.
Absolutely.
So I'm just still trying to figure out those details. But it's coming hopefully in the near future.
Awesome. What types of stories do you hear from people who you talk to before they come here? Or is there a common theme you're hearing?
The most common theme, honestly, is that people are nervous because they don't know what to expect or they've seen like negative information about it. So that's the most thing is that people are just nervous about coming. A lot of times I get a lot of females that will come with like 2 and 3 of their friends sometimes to an event, which is good. It's fine.
Yeah.
But then you're all meeting the same guy. So I usually tell people, try to come by yourself or just with one other person. But after the event, the majority of the time, 99% of the time I hear, oh my God, I had so much fun. It was greatly organized and I got to meet new people. So, but that's really the biggest thing is people are just nervous because they don't know what to expect.
Do people drink at the event? Can you drink?
Yeah, you can. Most of my venues have a bar at them. So I usually when they come in, I'm like, check in, go grab a drink at the bar, come back.
If I'm going speed dating, I'm pre-gaming.
Don't pre-game too much though.
Yeah. No. Actually, that's what you should do. You said, I start promptly on time. Anyone who shows up late should have to wear a red flag around their neck the rest of the night.
Well, people know when someone walks in late
like
because they're already sitting there. They're already sitting there and someone walks in late and so they...
Like, oh, he seems great. So what tips would you give to somebody who's interested in trying speed dating or the lock and key parties?
I always tell
Hold on. Are they called lock and key parties? Because now I'm thinking key parties.
Lock and key parties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, well, that's a whole other game. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So what advice would you give to people who want to try one of these, let's call them alternative events?
Yeah. I honestly just tell folks, just don't come with super high expectations. Come as if you were just going to go out with the night with the girls, night with the guys, and just to have a good time. Plus, I always tell folks who are kind of on the fence about it, try it one time. You're either going to like it or you're not, because I do have several people who are repeats, which I'm perfectly fine with, but just come with an open mind and try it at least one time.
We get stuck in our ways. The older we get and the longer we're alone, the
yeah.
more neurotic we get. And it's like, well, no, what do you mean dinner at 5:30? I eat dinner at 5:15 every night, and there's no changing that. You walk into something like that, and you with an open mind, you never know. Even if it doesn't lead to some romance, you could meet a friend. You could just realize oh, you know what? Maybe I've never thought about dating somebody in this bracket or whatever it might be.
It's actually something I say at all my events that you always want to keep an open mind because you never know. That person could be a business contact later, or you might have a sister or a brother that they might be good for. So with their matches.
Or a good booty call. I mean, either way. Oh, no? Okay.
All right. I'm going to leave that one alone right there.
No. Yeah. Lock and key.
Oh, yeah. Just keep an open mind. And
for people who aren't in the Cleveland area, where should they go and look for these types of events?
So you can actually go to predating.com. It will actually list out all the cities that we're currently have a local event host. Pre-COVID, we had about 80 coordinators across the country. Now with pandemic, I want to say we're now back up to about just under 30. So even if you're in a city that doesn't have one, you can actually inquire about becoming one as well too. So
yeah, and in Florida, they had an alligator take over the coordinating post, right?
Of course, yep.
Yeah, that's really cool. So if you're in Cleveland or around the area and you want to check it out, you will get to work with Soli herself, and she will be your coordinator. And I can tell you, she's pretty awesome. She seems fun. Don't bring your own gong, but come with an open mind. Thank you so much for telling us about that. And is there anything else you want to share with the people out there listening or watching?
The only thing is just be sure to check out our website because we've got 3 events coming up. So you don't want to get locked out is what I usually tell folks.
You don't want to get locked out of the key party. Oh, no, that's not right. Is that right? No.
Hello, my name is Maddie Jo Cowsert, and my eyebrows are drawn on a little bit too heavy compared to the rest of my makeup today. I was on season 1 and season 2. Season 2, the most recent season, on episode 13, Saving Yourself from Purity Culture. I love being on Going There because we really do go there. And Matt does a great job of collecting a very diverse group of people from very different backgrounds. Like even on our episode, like Sir Mylan wasn't even necessarily from like a purity culture background. And that was a brilliant addition to the show. So I'm a big fan, and I hope that I can come back once my book has launched. Sorry, I had to. Shameless plug.
You know what I like about the podcast Going There? I get to drink while I'm working. But on a serious note, I like that we speak truth to issues that most people tiptoe around. So keep swinging them sledgehammers of truth, and I'm always gonna be going there.
So a lot of what we talked about is like all the negative stuff and the funny stuff. But honestly, it can be an enjoyable thing, right? It can be something in your life that brings you an outlet, a way to meet new people. You know, I've tried different restaurants in different places that I've never been to, and it's not all bad. What good experiences have you guys had?
I've had great experiences.
Well, you ended up, but even in the past.
Well, some great experiences too.
I mean, even if they didn't work out, and I'm the type of person, I like to get to know people.
Yeah.
You know, I like to travel. I like to do things that are just fun. If it doesn't work out, and we can be very honest with each other, like, hey, this isn't working out, and it's fine. But I've had some interesting, dating relationships that have been through the apps, but those are pretty short-lived. But overall, my experiences have been, I can always glean something from each experience. And I learn about myself. It's up to me.
It's 100% up to you.
I learn a lot about myself. One thing that I know about me is there's only a certain amount of time I can give to something. If I know it's not it, it's like I would prefer just to come out sooner.
Yep.
And so there doesn't have to be these years and years and years of,
And I think after 1 or 2
you know
or
who you are.
The max 3 times if it's going to be a working out thing. I mean, I've had a lot of great experiences. I honestly, since I could write a book, I still had chapters I didn't write about bad, but I also have had a lot of good ones. And in all fairness to the people I've dated, probably 80% of the people that I've dated, a lot of them I've stayed in touch with and I'm friends with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a handful that have just turned out, one I saw last week, and, he called me the C word. I'm like, what?
Oh, hell no.
Captain?
Yes. See you next Tuesday.
I think a lot of good can come out of it even when it doesn't go anywhere. And I think really it's 100% up to you, not only to be able to glean it, but to be able to have enough self-esteem and self-respect to say, it's not necessarily about me at all.
Right.
Like being incompatible doesn't mean you suck. It just means you don't work for this person.
And people have to know that. They have to really know, you can't take anything personally.
And truthfully, a lot of people don't know that. They don't know the difference.
Do not look for validation through dating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Sir Mylan, what about you? What other than your romps to whatever football city you're going to, what good experiences do you have with dating?
I'm approaching 50, So I'm enjoying.
Looking good for 50, bro.
I'm approaching 50. I'm proud of who I am because I live an open life. But dating, now it's cool. I have, I'm learning a lot about myself. That's one thing. I'm really upping my integrity and keeping high vibrations. So I need to receive that because I keep my vibrations really high. I need to, you can't come to me any type of way. So I'm enjoying it. I wish I would have done this 30, 40 years, 30 years ago.
But it's a learning curve because
It is.
if you go in there, unfortunately, kind of like how the world works in general, if you go into it completely naive and open, like people are generally going to be kind and good, you get destroyed. So it's it does. I mean, I'm in my 40s now, and it's like I'm still learning. Like you were saying, Cassie, I go in fully genuine in myself, but I've had to learn, like, I'm not going to get that back, so I'm only going to give so much, still enough where they know who I am and where I stand.
But why can't you, like, for me, like, I give myself.
Because you can lose those pieces of yourself if you give them away too much.
No, not if you cement it and keep it on lock. Like, it's just,
not everyone vibrates as high as you do.
That's true.
But listen, that came with a cost.
Exactly.
Let's put that out there.
Yeah.
I had to learn to be this way.
And that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
You learn how to manage that by failing it. So now, like, you can still present your genuine self, but it's not less of you. It's going to be different than how you did it before.
Or not all at once.
Or not all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie, what about you? What good experiences have you had?
I think mainly, like, I learned what are the things that I want out
Or
of
don't want.
or don't want out of each relationship, right? Like, I had somebody that took me for a sunset on, like, Edgewater Park, and I was like, that's the kind of stuff that, like, I want, right? Like, that's I want that stuff. So if, like, somebody's not willing to be that kind of person, they're probably not really what I want.
Or someone that would be open to that.
Right, like that. They don't have to do the exact thing. I'm just saying. But
Take
like,
you on hikes like 4 dates in a row?
I like hiking. But yeah, I think it's just what you can take out of it is learning about yourself.
Yeah.
And what are the things that you want and don't want each and every time that you go out with somebody. And in the meantime, hopefully you learn, find new places to go for restaurants or whatever to experience with other people that you actually enjoy.
Exactly. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here, for sharing your stories. Thank you for being part of the finale episode of this show. I am so happy that we were able to put this together and make this happen. And all of you were as awesome as I knew you would be on this episode. Where can people find your book?
Amazon.com.
Oh, is that new startup that I keep hearing about?
Yeah. It's there's a ebook, there's an audiobook, a hardcover, and a softcover.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And I've read part of the book and listened to the rest in audiobook. So all of it is very doable, very entertaining, easy to consume. And there's some warnings and some red flags that you can learn from Karen's mistake, the fluffer and the diddler.
I'm not the diddler.
We're going to go to the season wrap up, but thank you everybody for being here.
Thank you for having us.
I hope you all find what it is you're looking for, whatever that may be.
Hi there, I'm Bobby Thomas here in my home studio in Los Angeles, but I really wish I was there on set to celebrate with you all. I've really enjoyed the small contribution I got to make on the podcast as an audio engineer and consultant on the show. I was able to use the small experience I gathered in 40 plus years on the radio to consult with Matt on the pod's format, which he just then ran with and just completely made it such a wonderful, wonderful format. Also, I was able to contribute with my expertise in the production department, audio production, sweetening up the audio for each episode and cleaning up some of the noises and the bips and the ticks and the pops that we try to get rid of and make the audio as clear as possible for our listeners. Season 2 was a bit different from Season 1, and I truly enjoyed the perspective of so many different guests, contributors, and panelists on this season's pod. The topics ranged from the very, very serious to the very, very silly and everything in between, which I think is what this pod should be all about. Matt and crew, you've really done a great job this season, and I can't wait to see what you have in store for season 3. So congratulations, everybody. You done good. Cheers. Oh, wait a minute. I got a call. I am inviting a friend of mine who lives out here in LA too to pop in and just give a little congratulatory remark or something like that. So I'd like to introduce you all to Townsend Coleman. You may recognize his voice as Michelangelo of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the original animated series back in the 80s. He was also, in fact, just celebrating 30 years as the Tick, the animated series that started up in the 90s. And in addition to a number of different animated characters that he has voiced over the years in his career, and for 16 plus years, he was the voice of NBC, especially during the must-see TV years back on NBC television. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Townsend Coleman. T, what's going on?
Woohoo! Cowabunga, dudes! Michelangelo here from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Just kicking it in the old turtle lair, watching one of my favorite podcasts, the Go In There podcast with Matt and crew. You guys are bodacious. Dudes, congratulations on 2 seasons under your belt. You got a 3rd one coming up. I can hardly wait to see it, all right? And evildoers, beware, you face the Tick. Spoon! Ooh.
Thanks, T. So, again, everybody, congratulations on season 2. Cheers to season 3 coming up. It's just coffee.
I don't know about you, but my 12-year-old head just exploded because Michelangelo, a.k.a. the Tick, a.k.a. 5 million other characters we grew up and loved, just gave us a shout out. I actually met him when I was in California. He's a great guy, humble, he's kind, and he's super talented. So, Bobby, thank you so much for making that happen. Thank you to all the people who gave us a little shout out for their cameos for this episode. For the season 2 wrap up, right now I have with me, joining the table for the very last time this season, my co-producer Portia Brenner and returning guest Aaron Toppin. And we just wanted to kind of talk through the experience here at the end of the episode, at the end of the season, which this is our 50th episode overall between both seasons, not counting bonus episodes. Just the fact that we made it through, considering all the things that could have gone wrong and could have stopped us in our tracks, is nothing shy of a miracle. And we made it here to the finale. Thank you so much for everyone listening. Let's talk a little bit about how each of you got involved, because even at the start of season 2, it looked a little bit different.
My very first thing on the show was we recorded the commercial or
That's
the
right.
teaser.
With Aaron as your husband/date. Yeah.
Yes.
Hawkman himself. Check out this t-shirt.
Make sure we show it. Yeah. I now know the guy. I didn't know him before, but now I know him. So,
And then the very first episode of the season, I was at a doctor's appointment, and like I had on the gown and the whole 9. And Matt shoots me a text message. He's like, "What are the odds you want to be on a panel today?" And I'm like, "Oh, definitely." He goes, "Can you be here in like 45 minutes?" So I pulled myself together, and I got to be on the panel for the first episode, and then
You kept coming back for more.
yes,
And
I'm a glutton
then-
for punishment. So I
And
kept-
then, you got more and more involved. And even despite the other personal things going on in my life, like I was already like, you need to be a part of this. What drove you to want to do that? And why are you here now?
I love the show. I was into the show before season 2. That was one of my pandemic listens, because it was born out of the necessity for people to be able to talk and hear different perspectives. So that's what brought me into it. And then to know the quality of the show and all the hard work that goes into it and the ability to reach people all over the world. You're good at what you do. So
Wow.
I want to ride your coattails to success.
Well, we'll see. That's up to the viewers. Subscribe. Aaron, you started as somebody just behind the scenes who was like, I enjoyed the show. I listened to it. And then you became a huge resource and I would say a champion for the show online and in your personal circles. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big relationship person, right? So like when my friends are passionate about something, like I like to get behind them. And honestly, when you look at just the format that you created, like in the conversation that you evoke from the show, I think one of the episodes where my mom actually watched, because hi mom, moms like to always like support their children, but it was when she watched an episode and had a huge conversation after the topic. That's when I knew this show was really touching people and having conversations happen at home. So that's why I love supporting it. So,
And Aaron being here is a really big deal too, because you are a relationship person, you're good at finding the middle ground. And a lot of times this show, there's going to be episodes because that's the whole premise of it, is like, these are tough conversations. And there are things that, it's tough to want to align yourself with unless you know that you're going to alienate some people. Now, you purposely shied away from some topics and being on some episodes, but everyone does that. I mean, there's episodes where I'm like, I got to be careful what I say here,
I'll even add, I laugh because the people that know me, there was I can't remember which episode specifically. I mean, I do know which, but they actually texted me and said, if you could have danced away from any more controversy on an episode, like you were just dodging everything. And I'm like, well, no, I thought I was answering it, but yeah, I was trying to stay a little clean if I could.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And look, not everybody wants to air all of their personal feelings on things. And I air my personal views on a lot of things, but I try to stay objective. Like how I feel about something deep down isn't necessarily the way that I act or behave in public, because you have to coexist with people. Aaron, you mentioned it. Portia, what are your thoughts on season 2? Did we accomplish those goals? Did we try to find common ground? Did you think we were objective enough, or we should have been more pointed or less pointed? Or
I think there's the perfect balance of everything in this show. You don't only go for the hot button issues. You go for things people aren't talking about. One of my favorite episodes was the age gap episode, because no one not only talks about that, but who thinks of it. We don't understand. Each generation has some level of not understanding one another. Older people can't understand why young people are quiet quitting, and, younger people can't understand why people stayed on a job for 30 years. So all of the topics, not only does the show do a good job of selecting topics, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a producer. Yeah. We don't only want to appeal to young people or older people or Democrats or Republicans. I think there's a perfect balance in who we appeal to. I also think there's a perfect balance, and this is to your credit. You do an excellent job of putting together the panels. You're not just gathering a bunch of people who like to talk.
Not just sending last minute text to somebody at the doctor's office.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope it wasn't your gyno.
Well, I'll just say whatever doctor it was, they say open wide and, sit still. So
we're still going there on this one too,
huh?
Yeah. We're going there.
Sorry, Aaron.
But it's also the perfect marriage of being informative and being humorous and being blunt while being conscious of other people's views and feelings. So there's even been a couple episodes that have been controversial in the comment section. And it's given us an opportunity to address that and show that you can have a position on something and not be nasty because you have that position. Right. The education episode was...
Simply because the term inequity was used in the title, there were some people who are like, oh, it's bullshit, because so many of these topics we cover have become, like you said, hot button topics or buzzwords.
Yeah.
And so people immediately, it's like, you hear critical race theory, it's like, I've already made up my mind. There's nothing you can tell me about it. And that's what birthed the show. People are not having conversations at the human level.
One of the great things about the panels you put together on the show is it brings so many viewpoints from different people that if you've never had the opportunity to have this conversation because your workforce is all the same group, if you will, this show got to get those opinions out, which I thought was awesome. So,
and you give a voice to everyone. You cover topics that don't necessarily always affect you directly. The row your vote episode, when you allowed the women on the panel to kind of take control of the conversation because it impacted them the most. There aren't a lot of platforms that do that. They want to speak from their perspective and kind of have people that flank them for visual aesthetics. Your ability to kind of relinquish control of the conversation for the greater good
and purpose of it, I think is amazing.
I'll pay you guys later.
In Bitcoin, please.
Yeah.
Don't need a trace.
As far as being a part of the show, whether behind the scenes, after the fact, or just during the taping, where are your favorite memories from this season?
So I will go back to the Hawkman moment, just because it's well, because like you think about it, like that was a show that was my first episode on with you. Had no idea what I was walking into,
and that was the last episode first episode where Insane Matt had taken over and just said, "I'm done."
Yeah, I mean, when you start off just how the house was having all of its fun and trying to take the spotlight.
Literally snow in my house. It blew in through the windows and doors. Then the power goes out and it shuts down my thermostat. The power comes back on. It decides to tell my furnace to run the AC. My house freezes. Come home Christmas Eve night. It's about 10 o'clock. A pipe has burst in my ceiling in my finished basement and has flooded there. It was like the scene in Titanic. I'm like moving around. There's luggage and kids floating around.
But it was the levity in that moment. And that panel just was so great. Everything from LeJohn and his cupcakes, you know.
Yes. Is this a birthday present?
It's birthday cupcakes. I know you love sweets and everything. And they are infused with some form of like, not heavy date rape,
THC.
but like, something like that. Yeah.
Can't wait for the after show.
Exactly.
Folks.
That's what we're here for.
Tune in.
That was one of the fun episodes because I felt like that was you allowing people to get on the panel and just live and breathe and have a moment.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think people realized how off the cuff that show was. But I mean, the fact that it was just organic and it felt like a produced show from beginning to end, that just speaks to how the show and the people behind it and the people that have a passion for it kind of come to life for you on this show.
Both of you guys have mentioned the panels. The panels are everything. Season 1 was very different because it was mostly the co-hosts and then we'd have a guest. And having a variety and a diverse panel for the most part in every episode, it's like building a documentary, right? It's like you want more than one or two voices and you want differing opinions. Actually, in that episode, Aaron made a really good point about how his dad would always say, "You're carrying me too fast."
My dad, he used to always say, "You're carrying me too fast." I didn't understand that. And you look at some of the way our society is changing, like you want people to adopt terms and phrases and new ways of thinking. And sometimes it's just faster than people are ready to go. And I think that is probably some of the divisiveness that's happening in our politics is,
you're not wrong.
I want to see you as who you are. I want to acknowledge that you are in the skin that you are, but you can't now persecute me because I don't know how to say the right statement to you.
One side is looking at the extremes on probably most of the time the left going, hey, you guys are moving too fast and you want me to catch up. And that's a valid point. And what happens on the other side is people are going, hey, listen, we're not asking you to change anything. The extremists on the right is we're just trying to get you to acknowledge what actually is here. And that's the problem is we have to stop buying into the people who demand change or demand that you ignore history and facts and other people's way of life. That's what I was hoping to do through this season specifically is talk about how most of us live in the middle. We're kind. We care about other people. We're not this selfish person who's hoarding money and resources. Portia, what's one of your favorite memories from the season?
One of my favorite moments was having the loveliest of exchanges with Mr. Mike Oatman on our cancel culture episode.
Well, the legal system caught up to him.
But is he canceled though? Like,
yes,
again, what is canceled? But because
his career
he
was
still has
over, he had
supporters.
lost his
He has
deal.
no freedom.
He couldn't.
But that's not, again, that's legal accountability. We're not talking about society. We didn't like do a citizen's
but before
arrest.
that, he had very thoroughly been repudiated and canceled.
You've removed his ability to thrive in the arena he exists in as you know him.
I think a lot of the guests feel the pressure of needing to kind of stay within a certain box.
Sure.
I appreciated that Mike Oatman did not care. What he believed
Yeah.
is what he believed. And
I don't think he cared about anybody's opinion. It was, I'm going to say my piece and that's it. And yeah, and it's great to have a voice that lives in that lane. And I also give credit to not editing that out. Like that was allowed to breathe and be there. But man, that was an episode that was hard to watch. So go back and watch it.
yes. Another thing that I loved about this season was we got to interact with some of the musical guests in the studio.
Yeah.
It adds another layer. It was nice to have E.W. Harris perform in the studio.
Yeah.
It was incredible to have Mariama interviewed in the studio.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that this show not only gives a voice to opinions, it also gives a voice to, musical artists and this show exposes its listeners and its viewers to things they haven't experienced before, be it perspectives from people they would never have had the opportunity to be in a room with, or, musical styles, because some of us just listen to polka and what was it, death metal?
And EDM.
Yes.
And ASMR.
BRB, LOL.
All of my favorites.
I would say one of my favorite memories was actually the Christmas episode. It was a time where I needed to feel festive more than anything. And so the crew was in here decorating for the show. And I'm like, let's go balls to the wall. And then even in edit, that was probably the most fun I had doing post-production on an episode. And the music was so perfect for it. It was just such a fun experience. And it was a time where I think we all needed to feel something joyful and festive, and then having Santa and Mrs. Claus there. Who was your favorite guest of the season? I'll tell you mine. Mine was talking about the Mike Oatman. AJ Scales of AJ Presents the Greater Good. He's somebody we just met through podcasting online. He doesn't live in this state, and I was like, hey, man, can you come up into Ohio? Because he said he had friends and family here. So he was like, yeah, let's pick a date. And we made that happen. And he was the saving grace of that episode. I was exhausted. Portia turns into kind of like, fuck you, I'm going to be quiet.
I strongly defended Janet Jackson's titty in that episode.
That is true.
I will not let anyone say anything negative.
He almost took over my job at one point out of necessity. He was just one of my favorite guests. We had some really awesome guests, obviously, like Erica Smith and the girl with the microphone and Megan Cox and all the people with the cult stuff. I mean, every episode has so much value in it to me. How about you guys?
Any episode with Peter Toomey was just amazing. Yeah. And the fact that he was on so many different panels, like you can go through and get some amazing sound bites and great lessons in different form. I mean, yes, there's a joke here, but like if you really just allow that moment to like wash over you, there's some great things that he gives in every episode that he's on.
Yeah. I mean, he was just on the most recent episode and you could tell he was reeling a little bit. I mean, as am I, as were some of the other people in certain episodes. I just think it shows courage.
That speaks to your versatility on this show. You don't only do most everything behind the scenes, you multitask here at the desk. Yes, you're the host, but there have been episodes where you yourself become one of the guests. The divorce episode was very powerful for me to watch you take on that role. Like, yes, you were, moderating, but in that you also were vulnerable and shared, and messages that I've received, people relate to that. So
that's the only way the show works, in my opinion.
Well, and then also the fact that you have provided a safe enough environment. The vulnerability that I saw in the one episode that depression and suicidal thoughts entered into play. Like, I mean, you gotta realize as a viewer, as a person watching, like to be that open, that exposed in a medium that will be replayed without context is very hard for a lot of people. Yeah. And the fact that there is a space created here that allows someone to have those conversations and talk about what brought them to that spot and how did they get there and how are they feeling this way is probably helping others that you don't even realize. And that's what's so great about this show is the information gets out there, the sound bites get out there, and now people can take that in at their leisure, and you don't know when it's going to help them, but there's enough conversation that the help is on the other side of this camera lens. So
I have a few favorite guests, and each of them are my favorites for different reasons. But one of my absolute favorites was Ryan Hernandez, who was on the cult episode.
Yeah.
Because he spoke so freely and so honestly, and he was so funny. He's on the Truth That Heals podcast.
Yeah.
And he was terrific because he not only gave insight to one of the most horrible life experiences you could ever hear someone went through, but he showed hope. Never once did he come off as a victim, even though he was victimized by something.
Yeah.
So, he was that perfect embodiment of the seriousness and the weight of the topic and that theme of the entire season, that hope, So he was my favorite in that.
I think that's a pretty common attribute in a lot of the people who show up at this desk. People who've been through trauma, but worked through it in a productive way. So now they can talk about it openly. Sometimes it still hurts and sometimes it's still triggering, but they have such a healthy amount of humor with skepticism, all kind of married to compassion and understanding of other people. And that's what I hope people get out of this show, to see like, oh, that person's different than me and they think differently. And actually, I agree with them on this. Let's cut to a montage. One of my favorite things from the series is, even though it's an anthology and you don't have to watch it in order, there's so many returning jokes and nicknames and all kinds of things. Take a look at this.
I've got 22 at last count who call me Aunt Rach. So that's a lot.
Can we call you Aunt Rach?
You can absolutely call me Aunt Rach.
All right. And she said we can call her Aunt Rach.
You can call me Aunt Rach.
So thanks for being here, Aunt Rach. Returning again for the 500th time is Aunt Rach.
My favorite Aunt Rach. Our freaking movie star.
That is all a lie. Oh God! Don't even try to tell them about that. They're like, there's that one kid who had a movie.
We'll adopt your
He was
baby.
great.
See the movie, then live the adventure.
Then forget the movie because it's the worst of the trilogy.
Yeah, and it's the empathy that it takes to be on in front of people, to do something that other people aren't doing. And I think that vulnerability is also, I mean, it just wears you out.
I do believe most of us live somewhere in the middle.
It's not only you can have that conversation, stay an adult, it also helps you learn about the other person.
So few people realize that there are gray areas to everything.
That makes you uncomfortable. It's true. There is research that shows people feel truly uncomfortable.
Can't use that word. Joe doesn't like it. Sorry.
Please stop doing that.
What? That doesn't even make any sense.
We flirt shamelessly with people. I love it.
Like, you ever thought of coming back to the North Pole and, I don't know.
People attribute being fat to all of these diseases.
I don't know. I mean, the whole thing behind the blackface thing, I can understand in certain aspects. Yeah, it's crossing the line. In certain cases, I don't know. It's just one of those things that I don't know how to take that, especially as a person of color. I mean, it's just...
My definition of marriage and divorce are probably interrelated.
I think it was Viktor Frankl described despair as suffering without meaning.
Name checked and everything. My goodness.
We'll switch it out in post. What the fuck's wrong with you?
I think I'm the token half Jew on this panel.
Returning from the Christmas episode is my favorite Jew.
Thank you.
I say I'm an actor, writer, Polly Pocket gladiator.
Well, not when you're Polly Pocket. You can just fit in anywhere.
You're pushing people away, and that's not what they were intending to do.
So my dad bought weed off Jeffrey Dahmer, and he said,
Get out.
No, he did. He said, I was there 5 minutes, and I knew something was off about that guy. We were never going back. He's like, even though the weed was very good.
Let's build a church.
Nope.
We need, as a society, need to get them to expand the definition of life beyond birth.
It's great to hear somebody who's candid and who cares. And his name is Casey Weinstein. Go for it.
And I'll take it right from there.
You know him from the smooth caramel chocolatey voice, the one that I want to listen to every morning before I wake up and go to bed, Mr. Hassan Rogers.
My man.
You guys know the sexy caramel voice chocolate man to my left.
My man.
I said FOMO.
Oh, FOMO, thank you.
Not MoFo, not MoFo.
That's different?
Not MoFo.
Okay.
Man, let me... Dave's had the smirk on his face. I can't wait till he says this.
Look at me. I am evidence that spanking works.
Whoa. What do you mean that's tough? That's it? That's all we got?
I'm sure the son of that guy grew up to be like, a progressive who fights for Black Lives Matter, I'm sure.
No,
it's wrong.
For the last hour.
It's totally wrong.
The arc of the funnies is interrupted, always, by Family Circus. It thinks it's cute because it's got the little circle. You know?
His language was, you have heard it said, here's what your book said. Right now, everything you're doing is exercise and missing the point.
What makes something sacred? Well, what makes it sacred is I assign it meaning.
Man, you guys are screwed.
Dogs have more genetic difference than human beings do. We are all the same. We are people.
I think sex is sex. Like, regardless of you getting your nipples flicked on or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
I mean, in addition to just being chill about sex, I was also raised on Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
Like, that was peak my teen years.
Yeah.
And I also love to throw a "that's what she said" into conversation.
Who doesn't?
What do I want my final words to be?
Yeah. You're going to, as soon as you say them, we're going to take you out.
God, see, when you say that, all I can think of is like two different movies. One is Captain Kirk going, "Oh my," and the other is Doc Holliday, played by the fabulous Val Kilmer, who looks at his shoes and goes, "Well, ain't that a thing?"
You're bringing in Hawkman.
I like the sound of that, Hawkman.
Do you remember the old Hawkman cartoon?
No.
He'd just be like, "Hawkman!" He'd be...
Nope.
Hawkman sounds like the guy in my old neighborhood who would like steal VCRs and resell them. And it was not cool. So he was like,
Hawkman!
Hawkman!
It's called the rule of three.
Okay. To see the studio, to see the space this is filmed in. I mean, the one thing about the studios at Frame One is this is a fully functioning studio that you created and you put this show inside of it. I mean, I don't know if guests have noticed or if people watching have noticed how the colors change in the background, like in the work you've put in this space. It's great this show is done here, but other things can be done in this space. And the fact that this is a full functioning studio with all these cameras and all these lights and watching you work in this space was a big deal. And I would say that anybody who's ever thought about being a podcaster, I mean, the amount of pre-work that you put into this show is amazing. To watch you moderate the show in real time and keep the show on pace and on time and on target, that is, you do it so effortlessly, it looks like it's just breathing, but I know that's because there's so much work done in the background. So as this season is coming to the wrap, that should mean the space comes to a wrap. That means others should try to look at coming out here and taking advantage of this space that you created and create a set that we can actually put stuff into.
Go to frameonemedia.com and you can check out our studio availability, and we would love to produce podcasts for you with an asterisk that says, as long as it's not like the worst thing on earth and you're trying to do damage and undo everything we're doing here, we got your back. Well, thank you. And actually, that goes to what I was going to say next, which is while a heavy part of the lifting is obviously done by me, there's so many people who make this a reality. People like my co-producer and even co-producers in the past, my crew like Tyler and Mike and Andrew and Cameron and Brad. And then we have the guys who aren't even usually, some of them not even living in the state. We have Corey in New York, who you saw. We have Bobby in California, who you've seen. We have Joe Callie, who's in Akron and does a lot of the voice stuff. And there's so many people who make this a reality, far above and beyond me. So usually I'm really bad at taking compliments, but the reason I don't get too weird about it when you guys say it is because it's so much bigger than me. I wanted to say, I'm beyond grateful for how much work and help and everything that you've put into this show from behind the scenes. I mean, Aaron, even though he's only been on a few episodes, so many times I'm picking his brain and asking about this, and he's trying to tell me not to do the things that I end up doing anyway. But he's helping find panelists, and he's helping us nail down artists. And he's
plugging the studio.
Plugging the studio. There's so much that Portia does that you'll never see or notice from the audience view, but like helping create these panels, helping get the music, helping write all of the words that I say, the ones that make the most sense. But possibly even more valuable is what you guys have done for me in help and support on the personal level during the course of this. I mean, the friendship alone is invaluable, but as the audience now knows, I mean, this has been a roller coaster of a season for my personal life behind the scenes. And without a support system, there's no way that we'd be recording the finale. We would have been like, hey, we had a good run. Matt is now in the corner, like picking off scabs and eating bugs. And hey, great for him. There wouldn't be a running Hawkman joke. Life would not be worth living. So thank you, seriously, sincerely, for you guys being there as a friend and as a colleague.
I do want to add one more thing that I would not have known unless I worked behind the scenes here on the show. it's so easy to turn on your TV or listen to your favorite podcast and it's an hour long. You think that that's all that went into it was that 1 hour. What you don't see is that the person who's responsible for editing, Matt, spends 30 to 40 hours a week each episode to make it look and sound the way that it does. So that's something that I have a greater appreciation for now that I'm behind the scenes.
And I just want to go further. There's a clip that you have. It's brought up how short everybody's attention span is. And depending on which age group you fall into, you know, you're down to watching 10-second clips and 30-second clips. I even have friends that, as much as they support me, when I send them the clip of the show, I don't have an hour and 10 minutes to sit down. But I think that's the challenge of the people that we push this show out to is give a commitment to watching an episode, because there is such a great swath of information that comes out of those episodes that you really want to take that in and enjoy it and see what went into it and see these people being vulnerable and telling their stories. I mean, I think the religious episode, if I'm not mistaken how the comments went, there was a little discord because the clip implied one thing, and that short attention span that people have now wanted to make a full opinion off of just that clip. But if you then got into the episode, and as it was very nicely explained in the comments, please go find that on Instagram. It's a great read. But when you see those comments,
Hashtag save not soft.
But when you see those comments, it's like, yeah, there's a quick snapshot that happens. But when people get into the episode and understand the concepts that were put forward, that's when the show starts making a difference. So I challenge people to go back, rewatch, watch it and share it. I mean, the one thing is, the funny thing about growth in this industry is if you don't have a lot of money behind you to help push things out or this great studio budget to push your show out, it really is grassroots. It really is going into the comments and just putting a comment. It really is hitting that like button. Because if we don't do that, then it never gets further than the circle that's here. So it's just sharing it, trying to put a comment on there, saying what you like, saying what you didn't like, but adding your voice to those narratives and comments are really big deals.
And don't be afraid to go against what we say. We don't want everyone to agree with us. We want to have, because how else do you grow if you don't have differing opinions or viewpoints? There may be something I've said that you enlighten me on. It might have not been a perspective that I appreciated initially, but then I can sit back and reflect and go, oh, they had a point. This is something I've never thought about before. So we welcome that. We don't only want to interact with people who, you know, align with our views or opinions. We want to talk to everyone.
I have people sway me live on the panel during episodes. I'm like, okay, you got me. Like you're kind of making sense. The show is not to try to get people to, especially through coercion, to agree with the way that we approach things. But we do try to approach objectively. And speaking of growth, you can help us grow. We want to do a season 3. Let's make it a reality. How do you help? We're not asking for anything but a simple share, a subscribe, tell your mom. Maybe you'll have a long discussion with her about a topic. So please help us grow. But those of you who've already been doing the work, thank you so much. Thank you, especially those of you who've been with us since the beginning of season 1. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in, for sharing your thoughts. There's so many people who offline have told me, and I didn't realize, listen to the show. My plumber was over one day, and I'm thinking, I don't try to push my show on people. He's like, I love your show. And he gave me feedback, and I listened to it. And many of you should see that from how season 2 played out. There's so many different opinions and ideas and perspectives that have gone into making the show better and better and better. So thank you so much to everybody who makes it a possibility, to all of you guys behind the scenes who do things, for the people who have just been on panels and helped us get other people to be a part of the show, to help nail down guests and musicians, to all the talented musicians who've been a part of this, who let us feature their music and their talents. That's a big part of what makes the show what it is. So I'm very happy. I'm excited that we're able to go out on top, and that I really do see hope for a future season, or maybe multiple ones. I don't know. I will say you can keep an eye out for, in the coming months, some bonus episodes, just like we did for season 1, some shorter form ones.
I just want to say, take a note out of our book and have conversations that are uncomfortable. You know, we spend so much time tiptoeing and walking on eggshells and being afraid of being canceled or considered woke or unwoke, or, you know, it's important to have conversations and be open to hearing perspectives from others that you normally don't interact with.
And I'll say directly to the camera because that's the guy I am. I think using the show to actually have conversations. I mean, some of the topics that were brought up on this show were really hard to talk about. So if you have situations in your own life where it's tough to have these conversations, use an episode. Use an episode to start that conversation. There is a lot of great, tough conversations that have to be brought up. And I know that a lot of them, I don't think I could have ever brought up. But then when I watch them and I see that, I see here's an opportunity for this friend of mine that's going through this to maybe have a conversation. Here's a counter perspective that was brought up in this episode that could probably open up a door for a conversation that this friend needs. So I encourage people to watch it together with spouses and friends and whomever to just see if a conversation of healing can come from that, or a conversation that just is a scab that you need to pick at to have a conversation. Take advantage of that. This show hits so many topics.
And also, and this is something I don't want to say guilty of, but something that I do myself, when I see, you know, podcasts and the title doesn't necessarily seem like something that relates to me directly, still give it a listen or still give it a watch. Working on the show, I was completely unfamiliar with church trauma and religious cults. And not only was it informative for me to, you know that exists, I now see people in a different lens. It really showed me that you never know what someone is going through or has been through. I never would have imagined that there were people who were, you know, when you think of someone who was enslaved, you think of, you know, historic enslavement. You don't think of the very people we interviewed. So be adventurous, you know, try something new. You know, it's like going to a restaurant and trying calamari or, you know, something you normally wouldn't eat. So be willing to take a bite out of something you're not used to.
Well said. Thank you both so much. Thank you, everyone who's tuned in. And reach out to somebody. Don't assume that they hate you or your way of life, even if it appears so. The odds are, even if they seem so vastly different, that there's something major that you guys have in common and can find a middle ground on and can find a way to show compassion and empathy for each other. There's hope. There's a lot of hope. So I hope you guys will stay tuned, but thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see you all in bonus episodes and season 3.
That you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no soul.
Hi, I'm Brendan from Wheatus, and you're listening to Watching, Experiencing the Going There podcast. If you're interested in our music, you can check us out at Spotify/Wheatus, Apple Music/Wheatus, or just find us on the internet at Wheatus.com, and we'll talk to you.
Thanks so much for listening today. And my personal favorite record is the Valentine LP, so you should especially listen to that one.
This might be too much of a peep show, but can you sing me like just one little bit of the chorus of the Christmas version of Teenage Dirtbag?
Santa forgot all about me, baby, tonight.
So we're going to have to do a bonus episode this Christmas featuring the Wheatus Teenage Dirtbag Santa Claus song. What's the name of it?
I can't let you know that right now. That's top secret.
We'll wait till Christmas.
This podcast is made possible by its hosts and Frame One Media in association with Joe Cowley and Bobby Thomas.